Well, hi, chat. Hello, guys. How we doing? How are we? How are we? Hope you're all doing good. Dragon, hello. Beast, hello. Behemoth, hello. How are you guys? I am so sorry for being late. I literally was like, you know what? It's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna take a nap for like 40 minutes, and then I'll wake up and I'll stream. It's 9 o'clock. Oh my god. I'm so good. I'm so good at sticking to my own fucking schedule. Getting no sleep? Why is that? Oh, is your dog keeping you up? The new pupper? She's adorable, by the way. Chat, if you haven't seen already, in the pets channel. She's freaking adorable, man. All right. Let's just go ahead and get right to it. I'm gonna. Okay. Let me just. And let me just do this. Let me just do this. Here we go. All right. So if the title wasn't clear enough, we're watching some Krakduk videos today. I haven't seen like a lot of this, but I know this guy's pretty cool. I've seen like a few videos of his before, and they're very funny, so I figured I would save a few for tonight, and we were gonna watch those together. I'll wake up before 9, wakes up after 9. Actually, I'll have you know that I woke up at 8:50, so technically I did wake up before 9. Try to kennel train a puppy is a lot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's probably, to her, it's probably a lot of like, oh, why is he keeping me in a box? I don't like it. So honestly, that makes sense. Why she wouldn't be too happy. All right. Let's go ahead and get this started. Let me know, as always, let me know if the video's too loud or too quiet, and I will adjust accordingly. Hey, Red Sky, what's up? Thanks for hopping by. Oh, Jesus, hello.
Hi, friends.
The intro always gets
Did
me.
I startle you? Good. If you were surprised by that, you'll be doubly surprised when the IRS raids your house. Yep, everyone hates taxes, but do you hate taxes enough to wage a decade-long war against the very imperium you dearly love and swore to protect? That's right. Today we're going to cover one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic battle of all of 40K, the Bad Ab War. The Badab War is notable since it began as basically a silly little legal battle that
Do they have
escalated into a
subtitles?
multi-
Bruh. Why are there all of these? Yeah. Something like that. Hey Warlock, how you doing?
chapter Space Marine Civil War with iconic dudes like the Salamanders, the Lamenters, and the Space Sharks.
Okay, so we got... Ooh, okay, so this is... Yeah, so this is like Carcharodons. I don't really know much about the Carcharodons. I know the Warlock who's in chat right now is freaking obsessed with the Carcharodons. So yeah, but I don't really know much about them other than the whole you don't see Tiberos thing. That's pretty much all I know about the Carcharodons. Oh, is that different? Are the space sharks and the Carcharodons two different? Wait, what? Really? Hang on. That's crazy. Wait, really? Oh, that's my thumbnail. Hello. Are they different things? Oh my god, they are. Okay. Well, okay. Huh. Word. Alright.
Woo! And before we get into all that, I just want to say this is going to be a super abridged version. So if this video leaves you thirsting for more, there's plenty of hour-long, in-depth videos out there to watch. Or even better, read the actual Imperial Armor books for the fullest experience. If you can find them, that is.
If you can find them, alright. Oh, that was a... Okay. Word. Holy shit!
Let's just get right into it.
Wait.
This tale of brotherly bickering...
Pause, please. Holy shit. Okay, they are the same. Alright. $4,995 for a fucking book? Oh my god. Average Warhammer pricing, honestly.
But let's just get right into it. This tale of brotherly bickering begins with the Big Blue Boys of Badab, namely the chapter master Luft Huron, otherwise known as the Tyrant of Badab.
Is this how... Is this the same Huron that is like the Red Corsairs Huron, but this is like... Is this like before he was a bad guy?
With a name like that, I bet these guys won't cause any problems in the future. Huron came to power after quelled a coup and took his chapter, the Astral Claws, recruiting world of Badab under his rule to ensure that it would never be threatened again. Figuring that he was just such a great ruler and knowing that another notable blue chapter got to own their own sector, Huron said, "Well, I can do that," and proclaimed himself the ruler of the entire Badab sector so that he could, quote-unquote, better protect the worlds and the glory of the Emperor. Hey, you can't just declare yourself the ruler of Badab. Why not? It's against the rules. Well, I'm the ruler and I make the rules. You got me there.
True.
And Badab was known for being in a little spot known as the Maelstrom Zone. This zone was a group of sectors that were near the second largest warp storm in the galaxy. So, to ward the Maelstrom and keep it manageable, the High Lords created a group of Marines creatively named the Maelstrom Warders, notably including the Lamenters, Mantis Warriors, and Astral Claws. Oh, and would you look at that?
Mantis
We're back
Warriors.
at Huron's
That's another one that I haven't
Luft
heard
Huron
of.
and his Astral Claws led the Maelstrom Warders,
God,
and
so
they were
many of
actually
these that
extremely good at their
know.
job. So good, in fact, that when he requested more resources and manpower to quell the Maelstrom once and for all, the Administratum ignored him, since he seemed to be doing fine without.
Oh.
If you won't pay for my crusade, then I'll do it myself. And I'm also not paying taxes. So he paused Badab's ties, closed trade routes, and slowed his gene seed payments to Terra in order to bolster his forces and begin his liberation campaign. And this gene seed hoarding will be especially significant later, so keep it in mind. And the Greater Imperium didn't really take any major action against Huron for his withdrawal ties, and the brunt of his actions were mostly felt by the Carthagin trade lords, who were responsible for processing Badab's resource tithes. The trade lords got pissed off at Huron since they were running short on their payments due to Huron's actions, and they tried to take action against the tyrant. However, it was a tricky legal issue since both parties were technically right to an extent, On one hand, imperial tithes are required by the administratum, and usually if a world fails to pay these tithes, they get a visit from the IRS, the Inquisitorial Revenue Service that is, which is somehow even less fun than getting a visit from the real-life IRS.
Sucks.
But on the other hand, Space Marines technically do have the ancient rights to, do whatever the hell they want. I am paraphrasing a bit, but Marines actually do have the general right to do whatever is necessary to defend the Imperium. So, considering that the Maelstrom is such a tempestuous zone, weather joke, there could be an argument made that Huron's actions were justified. But anyways, Huron used his stolen resources to gather a large force. The Astral Claws, their successors, the Tiger Claws, and the rest of the warriors began a huge liberation campaign and were joined by the Black Templars, who are always down a clown. If by clown, you mean brutally curb stomping some heretics, of course. These fellas broke further into the Maelstrom than ever before. But, unfortunately, this success was short-lived, and Huron was cucked again as the Black Templars were summoned to the Ultramar sector, and the warders had to halt their crusade. And to make things even worse for good old Ronnie, his legal troubles were catching up to him, as it seemed the Imperium would likely side with the Carthagins. Emboldened by this, the Carthagins sent some ships to tell Huronald that Mommy said it's time to give them back their toys, or else the Claws are in big trouble. And by toys, I of course mean important resources, ships, guns, etc. Huron lets them know that Badab is a DE sector so they can F off, and then the Carthagin fleet hits them with the no. So then Huron hits them with a bunch of shells from the Badab defense cannons. And the Carthagins were of course pissed off yet again and sent some more ships that mysteriously vanished. Just like how my delectable lunches mysteriously vanish from the office fridge. I'm just kidding. I'm a YouTuber and I don't have a real job, and the only thing that mysteriously vanishes for me is all of my time and self-respect.
That's so real.
But that aside, the Carthagins realize that they're not cavemen, and in the modern age, if you can't beat someone, well, you just gotta spread hateful rumors about them. So they send propaganda that you just gotta spread hateful rumors about them.
Real. That is unfortunately real. God.
So they send propaganda that Huron in his chapter are heretics, and also they probably have little tiny wieners as well. Huron responds to these crazy rumors that he betrayed the Imperium by creating his articles of just succession, in which he proves how loyal and dedicated to the Imperium he truly is by declaring himself exempt from stupid taxes and leaving the Imperium.
Okay, wait. God damn it.
Build a website you
I was gonna read that.
With Wix. For your words.
Bruh.
Also,
okay. Huron's list of stupid, dumb things that I hate. The Maelstrom. Taxes. Those dumbass trade lords. Real.
He and his Marines, they have very large wieners. Although he and the warders wanted to succeed from the Imperium, they were legitimately still loyal. Huron just thought that his mission of protecting and quelling the Maelstrom was above stupid things like taxes and pestering trade lords. And the other warder chapters joined because they believed it was their duty to protect the Maelstrom and stand by their brothers. So, the Carthagins furthered their efforts and sought allies, but they were largely ignored, perhaps due to their supposed not-so-large wieners. In their desperation, they began to directly call some Space Marine chapters, and finally someone answered. The Firehawks heed the call, and they send some investigation ships.
This is another...
These ships are then attacked.
What are these called, guys? What are these guys called? Firehawks? Hang on. I've never heard of these guys either. Okay. Huh. Cool. There's a lot of this I don't know.
By the Mantis Warriors. Despite their 4 times type advantage, the Firehawk ships are disabled by the Mantis fleet and they're taken prisoner. Even though the Mantis Warriors acted relatively civil and gave back the prisoners, the Mantis Warriors' actions really bugged the Firehawks, and they sent their entire fleet into the Maelstrom zone to get revenge.
Okay.
While the Firehawks fought the Mantis Warriors, the Astral Claws and Lamenters captured some more loyalist worlds in the sector in order to secure even more resources. The Firehawk forces were whittling down, but received reinforcements from the Marines' Errant chapter. However, the Marines' errand did not directly attack, and they only helped secure trade routes for the Loyalists since they were kind of besties with the Lamenters. These two chapters kind of pulled a Hawkeye and Black Widow for their civil war and didn't really fight each other. Moreover, the Executioners also joined the Astral Claws due to an ancient bloodshed, and the Secessionists pretty much destroyed the Carthagin forces when the Carthaginians tried to capture Depot World for much-needed supplies. This was done because the warriors knew that people wanted to read about space marines, not trade lords. Sorry, Carthagins, people simply don't care about trade disputes. For a while, the Secessionists were smacking the Loyalists since they significantly outnumbered them, which, throughout this video, keep in mind the Secessionists are working with their entire chapter, and the Astral Claws have been hoarding Gene Seed and merged with the Tiger Claws, so they're basically a mega chapter at this point. But this is also when the Greater Imperium finally decides to give a damn.
I don't know if it's mentioned, but what is like the what's like the legion that the Astral Claws are from? Is it? I mean, I guess I could just look it up. Oh god. Okay. The Crusading chapter. Yes. Astral Claws. But what are they from? Like, what legion are they from? Unsure, believed to be 10th founding. Okay. Huh. Okay. Information contradictory. Alright. So it's just one of those things that we just don't really know. Alright.
Since so many chapters are fighting each other, the High Lord sent Inquisitors to investigate the Bad App sector and see what all the hullabaloo is about. Due to the missing ties and Gene Seed payments, the Inquisitors deemed the Astral Claws to be the more guilty party, and they ordered them to lower their defenses and stop this tomfoolery. However, Mr. Luft, I always know best, Huron said, nah, I know best. And if I followed your silly-ass request, then the Maelstrom Zone would be in danger. This proved to be something I like to call a big fat mistake, and the Inquisition assembled a marine force composing of the Salamanders, Raptors, Fire Angels, and Red Scorpions. The Marines Aaron and Firehawks were subbed out to regroup their forces, but before leaving, the Hawks left a cute little parting gift called a million firebombs that decimated a Mantis warrior planet in revenge for their past transgressions.
Of course.
After some more fighting, a phrase I will no doubt use like 100 more times in this video, Left Nut Huron called for a parlay at an asteroid base
Left Nut Huron?
Oh, I can't see anything going wrong in a place such as this. So Huron, Chapter Master Sartak of the Mantis Warriors, and Lord Commander Otis of the Red Scorpions met to discuss their war. But just like playing a game of Among Us, it quickly devolved into rampant accusations and finger pointing. You know what would make negotiations go more smoothly? Getting shot at. Oh, did I say smooth? I meant bad. So amidst the finger pointing, the base was suddenly attacked by 3 unidentified ships, and the barrage killed both Sartak and Ortis. The attacker was never officially identified, but the Loyalists blamed Huron for the betrayal at Grief, Huron blamed inquisitorial conspirators, and others suspect chaos saboteurs. But whoever it was, just like how you ruined your parents' marriage, they ruined any chance of the Secessionists and Loyalists cooperating and gave us access to more epic battles.
Oh, lovely.
And so soon after, more chapters joined the Loyalists, including the Sons of Medusa, Howling Griffins, Nova Marines, and some Vanguard Minotaur forces, while the Marines Aaron withdraw entirely. The Raptors,
These are all more chapters. I'm pretty well versed on like the legions. It's just like the chapters that like trip me up because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I have never heard of. What the fuck are these guys called?
Joined the Loyalists, including the Sons of Medusa, Howling Griffins, Nova Marines, and some Vanguard Minotaurs.
I've heard about the Minotaurs before, but never about those other 3.
Forces, while the Marines Aaron withdraw entirely. The Raptors, Salamanders, and Fire Angels fight some Astral Claws and Mantis Warriors in the jungles, take some more territory, fight, you know how it goes. And amidst some more fighting, some of the secessionist worlds are threatened by Chaos Corsair fleets and some Orc clans. And this is a reminder that the secessionists are still technically loyal to the Imperium and believe themselves to be doing the Emperor's will. These attacks force the secessionists to fall back and defend against the forces of the Maelstrom. So then, more fighting occurs. The Minotaurs fully arrive and launch a full-scale assault on Cairo, slaughtering Huron's Tyrant Legion PDF force, and then goes on to take nearly a whole sector by themselves. Meanwhile, the Salamanders and Fire Angels steam some hams in Galen, and the Red Scorpions help the Minotaurs completely destroy the PDF at Varian. In hopes of turning the tide of the battle, the Astral Claws attempt to recover ancient buried weapons on planet Synax. In response, the Loyalists prepared for the largest push of the war and gathered all their chapters along with the newly arrived Exorcists for the Sagan offensive. Named so because the Astral Claws were about to sug on some nuts. The Astral Claws doggedly defended their planet, but unfortunately, they didn't have that dog in them, and they were in fact just big pussies. Eventually, in their desperation, they resorted to some dishonorable tactics like suicide runs and the use of virus bombs. But after some more fighting, the world was finally taken by Loyalist forces and made it their central fortress for the rest of the war. And this was a huge strategic win for the Loyalists, as it almost completely severed the Mantis Warriors from the rest of the Secessionists, meaning that the Mantis Warriors had to defend their home sector of the Endymion Cluster by themselves. After this battle, due to the war nearing completion, the Raptors, Nova Marines, and Howling Griffins were sent to the Ultima sector to fight some orcs. However, it is said that the Inquisition sent them away since these 3 chapters were not, quote-unquote, hard enough to be trusted to brutally murder the rest of their brothers in the final stages of the war. Oh, does somebody not want to eradicate their brothers? Oh, boo-hoo! Minotaurs, come here and murder some yellow crybabies for me. The Inquisition also wanted to boot the Salamanders since they were also deemed too nice, but the Salamanders basically said that they're an OG chapter, so they do what they want. But back to the aforementioned yellow crybabies. The Minotaurs captured some of the Lamenter's gene seed and used it to spring a trap in the...
Well, Salamanders are like a whole-ass legion, so yeah.
Ambush, the Minotaurs boarded the Lamenter ship and brutally slaughtered them in a frantic melee. Only 311 Lamenters survived, and they were taken prisoner for the rest of the war.
311? Is that...
Only 311 Lamenters survived, and they were
311? Jesus Christ.
Taken prisoner for the rest of the war. Elsewhere, the Red Scorpions and Salamanders continued to do work and destroyed a supply transfer to the Astral Claws from the neutral Forge world of Ingstrom. This goaded the Mechanicus forces into attacking both Loyalist and Secessionist worlds since the stupid Marine fighting spilled into their world. After some more fighting, the Mantis Warriors proved to be a troubling force. Although outnumbered, they leveraged their home field advantage with hit-and-run tactics. Luckily for the Loyalists, and unluckily for anyone repping the Koopa Troopa colors, the Carcharodons arrived and began a massive terror campaign on the ironically named Tranquility System.
Well, okay, wait, so... I know that, like, most of the legions, at least on the Chaos side, all just broke off into warbands, but am I incorrect in remembering that at least the legions, at least like on the Loyalist side, are still intact? Am I wrong? I could be wrong, because again, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I know at least that like Chaos Legions mostly broke up into warbands, except for the Word Bearers, which are still like kind of organized. But I know like warbands are a big thing for Chaos Marines, because after the attack on Terra failed, they're like, oh fuck, and they just like resorted to infighting, pretty much. But I'm pretty sure. I mean, there are codex supplements for more legions now, at least on the tabletop. So I would guess. Yeah.
There, the Carcharodons launched a planet-wide assault led by Tyberos the Red Wake.
There he is, Tyberos.
On Endymion Prime, the space shark shot drop pods all over the place and decimated the Mantis Warriors. Also, Tyberos was one hardcore scary dude. He's like a head taller than the average Terminator. He wears double power fists that are strapped with lightning claws, just in case a power fist didn't kill something hard enough.
Just in case they didn't kill something hard enough.
If those double power fist lightning claws still don't kill something hard enough, they also have double chainswords under them. That's a total of 13
That's
weapons,
lovely.
10 blades, 2 fists, 1 scary motherfucker. After all was said and done, the space sharks killed the mantis warriors so brutally that the fire angels were
Jesus.
disgusted and they withdrew from the Badab War. But
Oh.
after some more fighting, the Minotaurs, Sons of Medusa, and some penal legions attacked the south side of the Badab sector. Then some of the Minotaurs were also sent to
Right, but the legions are still like officially recognized, right? Like you're not gonna walk up to somebody and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm from the Salamanders Legion." They'll be like, "What's that?" Like legions are still officially recognized though, right?
destroy an Astral Claw training world with the Salamanders. It was here where the Salamanders discovered that Astral Claw corpse takers have been stealing gene seed throughout the war to strengthen the Astral Claw forces. After some more fighting, the Salamanders recovered the seed, and on their return to the Loyalist base, they were ambushed by the Astral Claws and Executioner chapters.
That's weird.
Outgunned and outnumbered, the Salamanders are forced to surrender, and as they're officiating the surrender, the Astral Claws attacked the Salamander ship, stole the gene seed, and slaughtered prisoners. Ironically, the Executioners had a bit of a problem with the Claws executing the surrendered Salamanders, and they turned on their former allies. The enraged Executioners killed the Astral Claws president and left the war to attack other Astral Claws.
Okay, hang on now. I'm gonna Google this because I feel like I'm so confused. Hang on. Because I feel like I feel like I don't know if I should trust Reddit, but Dark Angels, for example, are technically split up into chapters, but behind these scenes they are still in constant communication with one another and are able to come together in legion strength more easily than fully codex compliant chapters. In the Night Lords trilogy, the Ultramarines came to whatever that is to end them all the Ultramarines, which would have been absolute fucked with Space Marines. Several of them have changed their colors in the Heresy. Dark Angels, well, right. I know, like, the color changes are, like, a thing. Space Wolves operate outside of the chapter structure, and their numbers are anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000, but they are nowhere near Legion size, so it's hard to say they operate as a Legion. Imperial Fists were completely slaughtered during the War of the Beast, resulting in its second founding chapters, contributing members to rebuild the chapter. So, yeah, all of them still exist. Some have changed their heraldry. Many have changed culturally. Many of the original Loyalist legions maintain strong ties with their successors. Imperial Fists gather their successors together once every century for a sword fighting competition. That's lovely. Blood Angels stay in touch and try to help out their successors whenever they have to deal with the Black Rage. Space Wolves and Salamanders straight up never split up. The Space Wolves because Lehman didn't care for the Codex and just ignored it. The Salamanders because by the end of the Heresy there weren't enough left to fill a single chapter. Oh. There are official Salamander successors now, with Colin Gilman unleashing the Primaris onto the galaxy. They all got their own unique heraldry. So from what I'm seeing, they do still exist, but chapters are more of a thing than, like, the actual, like, original Legion colors. Some chapters still have close ties and communication with fellow chapters that share Primarchs. Okay. When the Horus Heresy happened and was finished, the Primarch of the Ultramarines mandated all legions into smaller chapters.
Claw holdouts. This left the Astral Claws as the only successionist chapter. Even though the chapter is illegally large, things were looking bad for Team Tyrant. Huron began to go a bit kooky, and he officially renounced the Imperium and prepared his final defenses. The Loyalists pushed the Astral Claws all the way back to the planet of Badab Primus and began a three-pronged attack to overwhelm the Badab defenses. The Sons of Medusa, Firehawks, and Star Phantoms attacked the Orbital Fortress Monastery. Carcharodons assaulted the Hives, sowing terror per usual, and the Star Phantoms, Titan Legions, and Inquisitorial Stormtroopers stormed Huron's final fortress.
There were Titans in this too? That's so cool. Every Warhammer battle gets cooler when you throw Titans in it.
The Palace of Thorns. After days of brutal fighting, the space sharks overloaded the hive's power grids, disabling the defenses and allowing the star fans to finally siege the palace.
Oh.
Huron and some of the astral claws escaped, but the Bad Ab War was finally won.
Okay.
Afterwards, the Mantis warriors, lamenters, and executioners were deemed guilty but not traitors and given the mercy of a century-long penitent crusade where they would be thrown into the toughest battles to prove their faith. These crusades were especially brutal since the chapters were decimated during the war.
Because as far as I knew, like, because I have heard of lamenters before, and as far as I knew, those guys are still, are still loyalists. So I was like, huh, all right. When they're first talking about them joining Huron, I was like, wait a minute, what?
Notably, however, the executioner's punishment was a bit lighter, since they were said to have fought honorably during the war, and they defended the salamanders towards the end of the war.
Okay.
As for Huron and the boys, the Astral Claws became the Red Corsairs, and Huron became Huron Blackheart, eventually aligning with Chaos. His Red Corsairs terrorized the Maelstrom Zone that they once sought to protect. As for the Maelstrom itself, it eventually became part of the Great Rift.
Imperial Fist Legion broke up into many smaller chapters. One chapter remained as the Imperial Fist. Other chapters were made from the Legion, such as the Crimson Fist and the Black Templars. Okay. Well, wait. Black Templars, those guys are just, like, part of the Inquisition, like the Death Watch. So they have, like, are they technically part of a Legion? Or are they their own thing, like Death Watch and Grey Knights are?
After the fall of Acadia. And finally, there's the Lamenters, who continue to get their faces kicked in at every turn. So yeah, that's the Bad Ab War. Very cool stuff. And again, this is a very abridged version of the story, but I think I covered all the main points and hopefully properly demonstrated how crazily things spiral from a pretty minor bureaucratic issue.
Okay, cool.
Thank you again to everyone for watching, and let me know how much you hate taxes and what your favorite chapter is in the Bad Ab War. I look forward to a million Space Shark and Lamenter comments. Thank you to all the patrons.
Hell yeah. Okay. Oh, there's some new videos that I haven't seen. Death Watch is a different thing entirely. Right. So the Death Watch is... I know the Death Watch is their own thing, because those guys take from other legions or chapters, and they're just part of the Inquisition. Kind of like the Grey Knights, I think? I don't know. Tell you what, let's watch a Black Templars video. I don't know, there's a few of these that I haven't seen yet. I've seen this one, I don't know why it wasn't... I'm pretty sure I've seen this one about Greater Demons. Did I? I don't know. Grey Knights are a chapter. Okay. Tell you what, we'll watch a few of these. I do still have to brush up on my Black Templars and Grey Knights lore. So I guess. Oh my God! Speaking of Grey Knights, have you guys seen the Terminus Decree? Right, okay. Guys and people in chat, have you guys seen the official Terminus Decree, and how much do you hate it?
Hi friends, today we're talking about the poster boys of chaos, the Black Legion. Yeah, and straight up, these guys like, and Abaddon are really cool. And if you don't think so, you gotta...
It's like, I'm not really a big fan of what it actually is. It's Matt Ward levels of writing. Isn't that the guy who wrote that Eldar trilogy that wasn't actually a trilogy because it was so bad and he just never finished the third book? Is that that guy? Or is Matt Ward like the dude who like blows Ultramarines on the regular? Or is it both? I don't know. I don't really read any of the books, so I wouldn't know. I probably should start reading the books, but I just haven't. And I'm gonna be honest, Black Legion is my least favorite Legion. This is my least favorite Chaos Legion. He's the Ultramarines guy, okay. He did the same thing with Grey Knights? Oh, lovely. So, right, it was like, I'm not really a fan of it, but I will say, I saw like art and stuff about it. like obviously like fan art and stuff, which was really cool. Matt Ward was an old writer for 40k and Warhammer Fantasy before Age of Sigmar, and he wrote some highly controversial stuff. Oh, lovely.
Read less memes, which also might seem heretical coming from a Cadia simp such as myself, but you know what they say, you're only as good as your villain. So let's talk about the
True.
largest force of Space Marines and one of the biggest, if not the biggest, threats of the Imperium, the Black Legion. The Black Legion was forged from the remnants of the Sons of Horus, and any warrior willing to follow Abaddon the Despoiler's path of vengeance and destruction. And while the Black Legion is technically a successor of the Sons of Horus, they're more their own thing and hardly share anything with the Sons of Horus in the present time. Which is also why I'm going to make a separate Sons of Horus video somewhere down the line.
Okay.
But before that, allow me a moment to talk about today's sponsor. Tabletop Stronghold is back to sponsor today's video. And if you don't know, Tabletop Stronghold makes some awesome MDF cases and terrain.
Ooh.
Their signature Mag Case 2.0 is super tough, spacious, and convenient with its removable steel tray system. Each case comes with a set of removable steel trays and magnets to put on your miniatures to keep your lovingly painted, or perhaps lovingly waiting to be painted, minis safe and secure. It's also super easy to swap out trays
Yes, the Legion
depending on
stuff
what
does make
minis
sense
you need
now.
to bring. And even better, there's 3 different sizes to tailor to your needs. From the Mag Case Mini to the Mag Case Mega, all your mini carrying needs are met. And they've also got some cool MDF terrain. Their terrain
Ooh.
set has everything you need for a game of 40k or other games if you want some cool gothic terrain. The terrain set was made with competitive layouts in mind, but can of course be used in casual games. It also comes with a lot of cool details to, well, detail your set to your liking. And if you want both of these, there's a great Mag Case terrain bundle at a nice discount. And there's also a Labor Day sale active right now, so you can get an even further discount.
Okay.
So check out the link in the
I might
description
actually,
today and get up to
I don't own any of my own terrain. Well, I have some, but it's like shitty. So I do actually, hang on. I do actually think I am gonna check this out because I do need like my own terrain. I've been putting off like I have like a bunch of like terrain projects that I want to do. Right, so that was the one where Gilliman was like, all right, you can only have it's all coming back to me now. There are like some things that I learned like the Codex Astartes thing I learned in 9th edition a little bit because I first started in 9th edition. Who's blowing up my phone? Jesus Christ. I first started in 9th edition and I played Deathwatch. And then I was like, Imperium is stupid. I want to play Chaos now. So I switched I switched to Tyranids at the beginning of 10th, and then I switched to Chaos Marines after that. Or he was basically coming out. Okay, so you are much more of a seasoned veteran than I am.
30% on select items for a Labor Day discount. And as always, there's free shipping to the US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and most of the EU. So be sure to check out Tabletop Stronghold for some awesome mini cases and MDF terrain.
Okay.
Huge thanks to Tabletop Stronghold for supporting the channel.
Word.
But anyways, at the Siege of Terra, after Horus was destroyed by the Emperor, the Sons of Horus fell into
Wait. Sanguinius doing the fucking Family Guy death pose? Oh my god. That is fucking funny.
At the Siege of Terra, after Horus was destroyed by the Emperor, the Sons of Horus fell into disarray and were utterly demoralized by the death of their Primarch. So they routed and abandoned the other Chaos Legions present at the battle to be crushed by the Loyalist forces. And after retreating to the warp, recovering Horus' corpse, and recouping on the dead world of Malium, the Sons of Horus would conduct raids against the Imperium to get revenge and attempt to reassert themselves as the leaders of the traitors. Additionally, the remaining traitor forces would soon fall to anarchy and break into disparate warbands, beginning the Legion Wars, where they would fight each other in the warp for dominance, supplies, and just for the funsies. And
just for fun, yep. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not a huge fan of the Emperor's Children. However, these specific like noise marines, the ones with the ones with the fucking guitars, are some of the coolest like designs for a marine I have ever seen. And I I saw when those wait, are they still up actually? Hang on. I saw that I saw that like that noise marine model, that commemorative one, was up for like was back for like a limited time. I wonder if it's still. I wonder if it's. Oh, okay, it's gone. God damn it! I was gonna buy one because I don't even play Emperor's Children. I like noise marines.
This time, the first captain of the Sons of Horus, Abaddon, would abandon his legion, mourning the death of his father, and was disgusted by what the once powerful legions had become. So, Abaddon wandered the Eye of Terror, learning more about the nature of chaos, and decided.
This is a battle our Chamber Militant of the Ordo Hereticus. They tend to work closely with the Black Templars, but the Black Templars are completely independent from the Inquisition. Okay.
Deciding what he wanted to do in his life. So he's like 80% of people after graduating.
Zuriel.
Meanwhile, the remaining Sons of Horus were getting whittled down by demonic hordes, rival warband raids, and rampant possessions. Then, one day, the Emperor's children, headed by Fabius Bile, sieged the Sons of Horus' fortress and stole the corpse of Horus. This raid left the Sons of Horus near annihilation and demoralized with the loss of their daddy's corpse. They began fighting each other in their angst.
Fabius isn't part of the Emperor's children anymore, is he? Like, isn't he doing his own thing now?
And many had little murder tantrums. And to make matters worse, Fabius Bile attempted to make ghoulish clones of Horus to aid the forces of Slanesh. All the while, Abaddon observed the Sons of Horus' pitiful defeat and pathetic tantrums. He returned to his legion, sickened by their decline, and he spent days in Horus' tomb. And his mourning turned to hatred as he realized Horus' failures and arrogance led to the pathetic state that his legion was wallowing in. So, Abaddon killed all the remaining Sons of Horus captains and commanded the legionnaires to swear fealty to him and only him. Few resisted Abaddon's dominions, and those who did were hunted down and brutally killed. And so, with his...
And Deathwatch, Chamber Militant of the Order Xenos. Each chapter sends a few Space Marines to the Deathwatch to research and fight and hunt aliens. Original chapter after a period of time. Okay, right, so, like, I feel like, if I remember correctly, for some Marines, like, they get sent to the Deathwatch, like, as a punishment. So, like, in Space Marine 2, at the very beginning, Titus was on, like, a penitent crusade, or something like that, and he was put in the Deathwatch, because they're like, we don't trust you, we think you're tainted by chaos, so we're gonna fuck you over and put you in the Deathwatch for, like, I think it was, like, a century or 2 centuries? To, like, prove your worth, or whatever.
Legion mostly reunified, so for some, Abaddon really... paid the Emperor's children a little...
So it's not really, like... So for some people, it's really not an honor to be in the Deathwatch. He was a Black Shield.
He killed all the failed Horus clones on his trail to finding Bile until he finally came across the Prime Horus clone, the one closest to the true Horus. Abaddon killed the soulless mockery of his Primarch and declared that he was no longer his son. And with the death of the clone came the death of the Sons of Horus. And from its remains, Abaddon would forge the Black Legion. Abaddon was just as disgusted with the other traitor legions' declines as he was with his former legions. And even more so, he was disgusted with many of the traitor Primarchs giving into chaos and falling to demonhood. Abaddon felt that falling to the temptations of chaos was to become a slave to them, and that was his father's folly. So, he took it upon himself to unify the traitor forces once more to succeed where Horus had failed. Abaddon would destroy the Imperium and gain dominion of humanity at all costs. But for...
Little did he realize that he was a slave regardless. I always find it so funny when you have stuff like Abaddon, for example, who's like, oh yeah, these guys are slaves to chaos because they turn into demons. I'm not a slave to chaos because I'm not a demon. I still don't think it matters. He's still doing the will of chaos, so he is technically a slave to chaos, whether or not he likes it.
First, he would need to build his Black Legion. Abaddon carved a bloody warpath against all who opposed him, and the conquests that he waged gained him infamy across the Imperium and the Warp. And through inspiration, fear, respect, or all of the above, more and more warriors across...
Titus was a Black Shield. He felt so disgraced, but he kind of disowned his own chapter. But as we played the game, we found out he's welcome back to the Ultramarines. Right? Okay. So I never finished Space Marine 2. I think I got like a halfway through it, and I never played Space Marine 1.
Across the Warp, joined Abaddon's Black Legion. Rival warlords would fall to Abaddon's...
For more context, warlords would challenge Abaddon's authority just to get destroyed, and Marines would falsely join the Legion to sow chaos within. But these attempts were all foiled, adding to Abaddon's legend. Okay.
Claw, slaves cowered before him, and demons and beasts joined his ranks to satiate their bloodlust. Marines from across the legions would scorch their armor black and swear loyalty to Abaddon. And despite his growing scorch their armor black and swear loyalty to...
In the Codex, some of the converted Marines keep their original helmet color, which both looks cool and a bit silly. Yeah.
To Abaddon.
I fuck with it.
And despite his growing ranks, Abaddon knew that truly united chaos was a fool's errand, but he sought to at least direct their endless slaughter towards his goals of ruin. He accepted all warriors as long as they swore allegiance to him, and he allowed the annexed warbands freedom to pursue their own conquest as long as it brought pain to the Imperium. Although technically one legion, the Black Legion is more like an alliance between many warbands.
So I don't know a lot about Abaddon, but I do know that he's essentially the 40k equivalent to Archaon, and that Archaon is cooler. Wait, what does this thing say?
Technically one legion, the Black Legion is more like an alliance between many...
Okay, so we've got Hounds of Abaddon, which I know these guys. These guys are like world eaters that are under the Black Legion. Sons of the what? I can't read his handwriting. The Cyclops? Okay, is this like the Thousand Suns one? Tormentors, Oath. I don't... Plus many more. Okay.
Warbands. They often fight apart from one another, sowing chaos in their own ways, and although they mostly fight independently, they still swear complete allegiance to Abaddon. Abaddon has also got an inner circle of trusted generals to help him assert his dominion over the huge legion.
Alright.
But despite all that, sometimes, on very special occasions, they join hand in hand for a very special Black Crusade. The Black Crusades are usually humongous chaos attacks where Abaddon manages to rein in the majority of his legion for a mostly focused campaign. Thus far, there have been 13, and each set out to complete a step of Abaddon's evil master scheme. And here, it might be a good spot to talk about something very important. A lot of people like to clown on Abaddon and his Black Crusades. Even I'm guilty.
There it is, Failbadon the Armless. That's what everyone used to call him, because his old model was all like, because his old model, the arms fell off super easily.
It sense. You know, it's fun to make fun of your guy's main enemy, but each Black Crusade is a legitimately apocalyptic level threat to the Imperium, and Abaddon is actually quite a cool character and a competent enemy. Heresy, I know. How could Mr. Cadia Simp say such things? But as I said before, you're only as good as your villain, and if the Cadian's arch nemesis was a armless wet noodle with a small wiener, that last part's maybe true because you know he's a space marine, then they aren't really that badass for fending him off for 10,000 years. Unfortunately, Abaddon suffers hard from meme lore. And I get it, most people are Imperial players because Imperium is the best, and it's fun to...
Well, so here's a meme about what I was just talking about, right? So you've got Abaddon with 12 failed crusades, became the War Master thanks to the death of his father, didn't defeat any legendary demon prince. One successful crusade, had to earn everything from the very bottom to become the ever chosen. Defeated Be'lakor, the first prince of the demons. AOS is just like really cool to me, and I'm not even really like into it that much. Like I've played like a single game of AOS. I was playing Seraphon. Seraphon are the faction that I plan on playing. But, like, I know a little bit about the lore. Not as much as I know about about like 40k, but I know a little bit about AOS, and God, it just seems so cool. It's like it's almost the same, but not. But it's like different. It's so different. Like the only thing that's like the same about AOS is you've got the 4 main bad guys. No, like the 5 main bad guys, and then you've got like the non-god specific main bad guy, who's led by a Giga Chad in AOS at least. And then you've got all the order stuff, and then I like how it's structured. I do kind of wish that there were more than just like orcs and goblins for and like trolls and ogres for destruction. It's interesting how like you've got because our I know that like most like quote unquote good elves are structured under order, but I don't know because it's not God. It's not. They're not called Drukari. It's Daughters of Cain are like dark elves. I don't because I know those guys aren't chaos, but they're not destruction, are they? And I don't think they're death either. Because death is a whole nother thing. Death is like your not Tomb Kings. Your Bone Reapers and your like the vampire guys, and then you've got the zombies, and then you've got the ghosts. Daughters of Cain are order. Okay. Okay. Anyways, side tangent over. Back to talking about 40k.
Make fun of your rival faction. But too many people don't realize that these jokes and teases are just that, jokes. And Abaddon is legitimately terrifying and one of the few Chaos leaders whose whole legion isn't completely stupid pilled into constant Starscream-esque backstabbing and infighting. Like, they're still kind of stupid, don't get me wrong, but they're just not completely stupid. In addition, Abaddon is a legitimately interesting fella. He abhors Chaos corruption and is the only character in the setting to actually utilize Chaos's powers without...
Hang on. I have to read another wall of text. This is outright stated. Abaddon does use the gifts of Chaos without being outright corrupted or signing his soul away through diligence, spite, and willpower. It should also be noted that his goals often align with the Dark Gods, so they aren't necessarily being sucked out of anything, but he is still notable for this. Right, so the whole thing about him saying, well, I'm not a slave of Chaos, well, you kind of are, no matter what you say about it. I mean, it's the same thing with, like, the Night Lords fans who are like, oh, Night Lords aren't, or, like, Night Lords and, like, some Iron Warriors fans who are like, oh, they're not Chaos, they're Renegade. They're in the Chaos Marines Codex, so like, calm down.
Selling his soul, at least for now. But he doesn't do this with ease. He has to constantly pull strings and remain vigilant to the temptations of chaos.
This nerd
like in the Fall Acadia, he had to constantly keep tabs on his forces to make sure he wasn't pleasing any one god too much. He would constantly alter his war plans to keep the respective gods at bay. He's also somewhat of a tragic figure because despite all his efforts and rage, he's still destined to wage an endless war, as is the nature of the 40k setting.
Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. Great Horned Rat reference? I love the Great Horned Rat. Forget Korn. The Great Horned Rat is my favorite Chaos God.
Okay to not like Abaddon for whatever reason, but if you think he's a useless buffoon, you're just objectively wrong lore-wise. He is always treated like a walking apocalypse in-universe. He is widely feared by his enemies and is the leader of the largest unified force of chaos, which, for a thing called chaos, is no small feat. Also, the only reason we, quote, only see him lose, which isn't even true, is because we've only ever seen the climax of his attacks where he's foiled after destroying a shitload of his enemies. It's like the Tyranid effect. They'll completely destroy a ton of worlds, but we'll only see the battle where they're finally stopped. Abaddon going around crushing a ton of worlds simply isn't a good narrative for a novel. But all...
Wait, hang on.
Going around crushing a ton of worlds simply isn't a good...
Once upon a time, Abaddon launched a Black Crusade and completely crushed this random world. Then we went to another random world and he completely crushed it. Then we went to another world and completely crushed it.
Narrative for a novel. But all that being said, Fuck Abaddon, he's an armless jerk and destroyed my favorite planet. It shouldn't die a baby dumb. Anyways though, back to the Black Legion, one of the coolest aspects to me is the fact that it's a conglomeration of the forces of chaos. This means you can soup marines from a wide variety of legions, as well as non-marine forces like demons and mutants into a single army. I don't know if 10th edition killed this or not, but even so, the point still stands is you still have a ton of homebrew freedom. They're kind of like a huge chaos.
The answer is they did not kill it. However, the point costs are still really fucking stupid. I hate having to do like I hate that there's a limit on how many demons you can use in your undivided army, but it's whatever. Gideon got advantage. Alright, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it.
Chaos Death Watch, taking marines from a bunch of legions, painting their armor black, and kicking ass. Expanding on the union of various chaos forces though, each one of the main traitor legions has a warband within the Black Legion. The Hounds of Abaddon are former world eaters, Children of Torment are Emperor's children, Bringers of Decay are Death Guard, and the Sons of the Cyclops are, of course, Thousand Sons. Furthermore, he utilizes specialists of other legions such as Iron Warrior Warpsmiths, Wordbearer Possessed, and Alpha Legion Infiltrators. Also, funnily enough, there was a pretty prominent warband of the Dark Angels Fallen called the Lost Lions. I just thought that was interesting because, oh, we're Dark Angels, we're totally lions. And currently the Black Legion are doing what they do, sowing chaos, gathering warriors and artifacts, and fighting whoever comes in their way. Notably, Abaddon forged, pun intended, an alliance with Vashtor and led his Arcs of Omen campaign. But anyways,
I remember reading like one of those books, and the one that I read was the Vashtor one. And it was really obnoxious to be like, oh, there's this new character, and he's like, excuse me. Anyways, there was like a whole thing. It was like, whoa, Vashtor, he's big, he's powerful, he's scary, and then he gets his ass whooped by the Dark Angels, and Bellicor, for some fucking reason, just decides to show up and ruin his day. So it was kind of annoying to be like, oh, here's a brand new character. Now watch him get his shit rocked. Oh, goodness.
That's pretty much all I gotta say for today. And I quite like the Black Legion. They're a great catch-all villain legion, are probably my third favorite after the World Eaters and Thousand Sons. I'll just always really like the idea of an army made up of a bunch of legions working together. For example, I really like Miniscape's Chaos Force. All the different legions looked real cool together. And here, look how cool they look in Codex Eye of Terror. Ooh, it just makes you want to get a bunch of overpriced, out-of-production models. And overall, like I said, I think they get too much hate. Like, Abaddon isn't my favorite character, but he's a cool villain and his legion is fun. And honestly, it's probably mostly people hating on poster boy factions, which I suppose is somewhat understandable, if not misguided. But let me know what you think of the Black Legion and why you hate Abaddon the Despoiler. I'm gonna make some separate videos for Abaddon, the Sons of Horus, and probably even the Black Crusades in the future, but for now, that's been the Black Legion. And don't forget to check out my link in the description to visit Tabletop Stronghold and get some awesome mini cases and MDF terrain. And thank you for watching, and big thanks to the patrons who support the channel. You're all...
Alright. Chat, I'm gonna take 5, and I'll be right back, okay? When we get back, we're gonna be probably watching... Hang on. We're probably gonna be watching Black Templars video, because I don't know enough about the Black Templars. So let me cue this up. And let me get a 15-second unskippable ad first. Jesus Christ. Fucking hate ads. Anyways, I'll be right back. Behave yourselves, please. Don't kill each other. See you in a bit. I was muted. Hello, chat. Sorry for the wait. I didn't make myself dinner before stream because I fell asleep. So I microwaved myself some dinner, and now I'm here. All right. Oh fuck, that's hot. All right, so now we're watching a video about the Black Templars. This will be fun. These, I'm gonna be honest, right now as it stands, these guys are one of my less favorite ones. And that's not because of them, really. That's just because of the Black Templar fans. I really don't like Black Templars fans, if I'm being honest, so I don't know. But, yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and watch this.
Hi, friends. Today, we're talking
Hello,
about one of
Krakduk.
the most, if not the most, badass chapters of Space Marines ever. That's right. Today, we're talking about the Black Templars. The Black Templars are, in a way, the most 40k Space Marines. Ultramarines may be the poster boys, but when you really think about the traits that people attribute to the setting, the Black Templars really embody these to the max. Incredible warriors, extreme religious fervor, eternal war, and extremely badass all around. That's the Black Templars, baby. The Black Templars are a second founding successor of the Imperial Fist, and were one of the first successor chapters ever founded. And these guys' origins lie with one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Space Marines of all time, and one of the most badass, if not the most badass dudes in all of 40k. Super Ultra Chat Sigismund! Woo!
Hey, I've heard of this guy.
But also, super exciting channel announcement before we get too far into the video. I'm making a plush. If I could get at least 200 of you awesome people to sign a petition, that is. But yes, Plush Duck can be a reality if enough of you guys want it to be. It's like the meme orc powers. If enough of us believe and pay for this thing to happen, it'll totally happen. Wow, a 40k reference.
That's the same thing with what are they called? The fish people in D&D who like they have the same thing. If they believe something enough, it'll happen.
Who wouldn't want to look?
Except it's like actual and not just like a meme.
Little version of me hanging around their room. Just look at how cute and epic this little concept of him looks. But yeah, if you want a Krakduk plush, be sure to check out the link to the petition below and get more details. This is legitimately one of the most exciting projects I've ever done, as I'm a huge plushie fan and I've always wanted something based on my art since I was a wee boy. So,
yeah.
if you want one of the best, if not the best plushies ever, check it out. But anyways, Sigismund was the greatest son of Dorn and the Imperial Fist's first captain. Most already know, but Sigismund was an absolute insano. He became the youngest of the Imperial Fist's elite Templars and would become the first captain after facing 200 of his fellow Templars in a row. The 200th combatant in this combat trial was Appius the First Dreadnought. Yeah, this crazy guy won a duel with a Contemptor Dreadnought. Badass.
That's cool.
And so, after demonstrating his worth, Sigismund was made first captain and was just
we are watching a Black Templars video. And I hope I hope I don't summon those kind of people on oh fuck. Can you play it?
An overall badass throughout the Great Crusade. Then, you know the drill. Horus does his heresy, kill some birds and lizards, blah blah. Anyways, after the Isfahan massacre, Rogel Dorn requests that Sigismund lead the Imperial Fist Retribution Fleet. This would usually be a great honor that Sigismund would take without question. However, Sigismund spoke to the Remembrancer Euphrates Keeler, and she foretold of two fates that stood before Sigismund. Either he would die a glorious death in the void and be forgotten into time, or he could fight an eternal war and help his father on an inevitable defense of Terra. So, Sigismund asked his father not to lead the fleet, but he didn't disclose why. Trusting his favorite son, though, Dorn appointed another to lead the fleet. Then, later on, at the Siege of Terra, Sigismund finally told Dorn why he didn't go with the Retribution fleet, and this enraged the Primarch. Dorn took Sigismund's actions as not only cowardly, but antithetical to all that the Space Marines and Primarchs were. To Dorn, they were mere tools for the Emperor's will and the good of the Imperium. In addition, Sigismund put superstition, the word of a prophecy, above reason and duty. Even if the prophecy was true, Sigismund had no right to make that choice.
Right.
Wait, you wasted my Dorn dollars on a stupid fortune teller? And even though this prophecy did come true and the Retribution fleet fared a lot better under the command of Alexis Pollux, and Sigismund contributed to the Siege of Terra a lot better as the Emperor's champion than some space corpse, at the time, Dorn was under the impression that the Retribution fleet was completely destroyed, so he thought that Sigismund not going led to his brothers dying instead of him. So, all this and the fact that it was his most trusted and favored son was just too much for Dorn, and he disowned Sigismund, which gave Sigismund even more drive to prove himself and serve the Imperium. And prove himself he did. Sigismund went into overdrive and was somehow even more of a badass than he was prior. And despite being disowned, he still commanded the Fist as to not break morale from within. But anyways, at the Siege of Terra, Sigismund perhaps reached peak badassery. This madman tried fighting Fulgrim, he fought a warp-roided up Karn, and killed basically everything else he came across. Badass! And eventually...
Okay, but you didn't kill Karn, though.
Sigismund would receive the Black Sword from the Emperor and was appointed the Emperor's champion. Adorned,
really cool.
pun intended, in black armor, Sigismund at this point was essentially an avatar of the Emperor's wrath. From all that had happened, he was basically dead inside, cold and disillusioned as he realized that peace was impossible and there was no hope for the Imperium. All he could do was fulfill his ultimate purpose and make the traitors hurt. Sigismund went on an absolute rampage as he went around hunting Chaos Champions and killing all the traitors that paved the way to said champions. Most notably, he killed the warp-infused Karn this time around, and Karn even remarked how his former friend had lost his passion and humanity and was now just a murder machine fueled by duty.
Oh, he did.
And
Okay,
then,
he did kill
later
Karn.
on, in a pivotal moment, Sigismund
no, he
joined
didn't,
Keeler in a
because
prayer
Karn's
to
still
empower
alive.
the Emperor and reactivate the Astronomicon so that Guilliman could bring much-needed reinforcements. Then, after the siege had concluded, Sigismund knew that the war was not over, and he hunted down Abaddon and the other traitors. He was also made first High Marshal of the Black Templars after the Codex Astartes broke the legions into chapters. Here, he would go on to lead the most zealous and faithful Fist in their eternal crusade. The Templars bore Sigismund's and the Imperial Fist Templars' colors and heraldry, and to prove his undying faith and loyalty, Sigismund declared an eternal crusade in order for his chapter to destroy all of the Emperor's enemies. And this crusade continues to the present setting as all High Marshals had followed Sigismund's path and quest for vengeance. Then, later on, centuries after the Siege of Terra, when everyone else thought the heretical legion's dead, Sigismund and his Templars still believed them to be a threat, and they hunted them down to the Eye of Terror, where
My goodness, who's blowing up, man? Who's blowing me up? Jesus fuck. Alright.
he would have his final duel against Abaddon the Despoiler on Cadia in the Despoiler's first Black Crusade. The old Sigismund fearlessly faced Abaddon and allowed Abaddon to land a killing blow in exchange for Sigismund plunging his black blade deep into Abaddon's heart. Impaled, Abaddon tore the legend in half, and even in half, Sigismund fought on, using his last breath to tell Abaddon that Abaddon would
Eat
eventually
shit and
die as
die.
Horus did, soulless, honorless, weeping and ashamed.
And then we get a unskippable ad about lightsabers. Oh, it is skippable, thank
But
God.
even with their founder dead, the Black Templars would continue Sigismund's legacy, and 10,000 years later, the Templars are still kicking ass and waging the Eternal Crusade.
Cool.
In the present time, the Black Templars are one of the most, if not the most, zealous and unrelenting Space Marine chapters. They are not only one of the most elite chapters, but they're also one of the most numerous. The Templars don't adhere to Guilliman's Codex Astartes and have many more Marines than the 1,000 of Codex-compliant chapters. In addition to not following the Codex, the Templars also hardly follow Imperial leadership. Despite their goals and religion mostly aligning with the High Lords of Terra, the Black Templars are extremely independent. They don't take orders from anyone except their own High Marshal, and other Imperial forces can only request their aid.
Ugh.
And ultimately, the Black Templars choose their battles and do whatever they believe is best for
I'm
the
gonna do my
Emperor
own
and
thing.
Imperium of Man. This, along with their defiance of the Codex Astartes, has some Inquisitors suspicious of the chapter. I mean, of course, it's harder to find a non-suspicious Inquisitor than a secular Black Templar, but anyways, they avoid conflict with the Inquisition thanks to their exemplary track record and the fact that their undying loyalty is painfully apparent. Plus, basically no Inquisitor would be dumb enough to challenge such a powerful chapter. But anyways, they also have no homeworld, as being a fleet-based chapter is more befitting of their never-ending crusade. Their famous crusade fleets are huge, consisting of many battle barges and support craft, with their High Marshal commanding them from their flagship, the Eternal Crusader. The Eternal Crusader is a huge modified battle barge that houses all of their relics as well as a bunch of chapels, of course. But expanding on their crusade fleets, it's rare for the entire chapter to be fighting together, and more often than not, the fleet is broken up into a number of crusades across the galaxy, led by marshals appointed by the High Marshal. On their crusades, they go world to world, crushing all enemies of the Emperor and building chapter keeps on conquered worlds. These fortresses are meant to glorify the Emperor and ensure the world remains loyal. In addition, this is the primary way that the chapter recruits new aspirants. Which, speaking of, Black Templar recruits are made up of the bravest and most willing children of the most hardcore worlds of the Imperium. Since they select aspirants from a ton of different worlds, the Black Templars have a lot more flexibility in getting the best recruits. Just like how those bastard private schools buy the best athletes across the states to feel superior to public high schools in football. But anyways, once selected, aspirants are thoroughly inspected to ensure that they are pure and free of mutation and /or chaos taint. If deemed worthy, the aspirant is made a neophyte and must sever themselves from their past life, as they are now wholly dedicated to serving the Emperor. They are no longer human, rather they are an extension of the Emperor's divine will and are forever duty-bound, as Sigismund was before them. And unlike other chapters, the Black Templars don't have scout companies. Rather, neophytes are made squires to Black Templar initiates who fight alongside them in Crusader squads and teach them the chapter culture and art of combat. The neophytes are trained and augmented until they're finally awarded their own suit of armor and made an initiate themselves. And expanding on Crusader squads, these are the backbone to Black Templar fighting companies and consist of Templar initiates and their neophytes. Sometimes they'll even be led by a sword brother. Which, speaking of, the Sword Brethren are the most elite warriors of the Black Templars. Originating from the Imperial Fist's Templar Brethren, these elite warriors continue their traditions of martial prowess and indomitable might in the Black Templars. Those who prove themselves great heroes within the chapter are made Sword Brethren and no longer need to trade neophytes. They have access to the best gear and weapons and are the most honored of the chapter. They can also use Terminator armor, baby! Woo!
Hell yeah.
But even above Sword Brethren, there's one more step of absolute badass, and that is the Emperor's Champion. These dudes are the absolute most hardcore Marines in the chapter, and there's an Emperor's Champion for each Black Templar crusade. These dudes model themselves off Sigismund and are total badass, crazy insanos on the battlefield who are imbued with a divine hatred to kill extra hard. Deriving from Sigismund's pre-battle ritual he learned as a wee little orphan, the Black Templars pray
Hang on. I need to read this. Sigismund would put his weapon to his forehead before battle like this orphan friend... Like his orphan friend Thera did before she would fight. Oh, cool. Cool. Alright.
From Sigismund's pre-battle ritual he learned as a wee little orphan, the Black Templars pray before battle, and one very special Templar will receive a vision from the Emperor just as Sigismund did, and it will tell them of their divine duty. They confess their visions to their chaplains and are interrogated, and then they're given the sacred armor of faith and the black sword and are let loose as the #1 killer.
That's so cool.
These are the Templars' greatest warriors. They are guided by the Emperor's will in hunting down the champions of the enemy as Sigismund did on Terra. But they also will eviscerate anyone on the way. just as Sigismund did on Terra. And beyond that, the Emperor's champions are inspirational figures who even further embolden the zeal of their battle brothers. As such, if an Emperor's champion is to fall in battle, the Templars see this as a bad omen and the battle is believed to be all but lost. If they truly do lose the battle, they must launch a penitent crusade to recover the armor of faith and the black sword at all costs in order to atone for their failures. Anyways though, in battle the Black Templars often fight like Sigismund did, and they prefer decisive close-quarters swordsmanship over ranged warfare. They find that close-quarters combat is not only more honorable and glorious, but it also allows them to ensure the total destruction of their abhorrent foes. Which, in the setting of 40k, is quite literally true, as personal melee combat is more effective at killing the forces of the warp than ranged firepower. They are wholly unrelenting and vow to crush any foe no matter the cost and no matter the odds. The death of their battle brothers only serves to fuel their fervor, and to demoralize a Black Templar is near impossible. Their two primary doctrines are the death from above and an armored spearhead. Death from above is a rapid shock tactic in which orbital bombardments, drop pod assaults, and thunderhawk strikes are utilized to quickly dismantle enemy formations, destroy key operatives, kill commanders, and completely demoralize their opposition. And for the more stubborn heretics, the armored spearhead is a crushing machine of bikes, land speeders, and heavy armor meant to break the enemy's weak points and annihilate them with sheer unrelenting force. But then finally, as for their chapter culture, they're fucking insanos. Now, that's a highly abridged way to put it, but more comprehensively, these dudes are extreme crazy religious nuttos. They completely worship the Emperor as a god and really embody the religious Space Knight aspect of the Space Marines. And it's totally badass. Their sole purpose in life is to glorify the Emperor through divine conquest. They are nothing more than warriors to vanquish the heinous foes of the Emperor. Relating to their dedication to their duty of purging the enemies of the Emperor and fighting till the very end, the Black Templars chain their weapons to themselves, both to symbolize how they're inherently connected to their weapons and are weapons themselves, but also to ensure that they're never without their weaponry, to always be ready to kill shit.
I was literally just about
and they also were...
Hang on. I was literally just about to say...
They're never without their...
Something about Karn, because he has his axe chained to his hand too. This practice originated from Karn the Betrayer, pre-becoming the Betrayer. Warriors in the fighting pits would chain their weapons to themselves so they couldn't be disarmed as easily. Sigismund saw his friend doing this and thought it was a cool idea. Oh, cool.
Weaponry to always be ready to kill shit. Oh, and they also were skeletons and stuff, which really adds to their aesthetic. They also do this to honor their dead, but sometimes they'll adorn the remains of the heretics to intimidate other heretics. Anyways, though, due to their adherence to the Emperor's will, the Templars especially hate Psykers since the Emperor banned them in the Council of Nicaea. So, they have no librarians and often work to hunt the witches that plague the galaxy. And this next part is a little bit shaky in lore, but sometimes the Black Templars will treat the Navigators with a great deal of respect as they were pardoned in the Nicaea Edict, plus the Templars believed these particular Psykers to be touched by the Emperor himself. And other times, they'll just begrudgingly work with the Navigators who have been intensively examined and had their purity proven. I personally prefer the former, as it makes a lot more sense to me for a fleet-based chapter to work well with Navigators, plus it aligns with the Emperor's decree and demonstrates the inherent hypocrisies of the Imperium. But GW's flip-flop between them a few times, and it seems like they're favoring the latter now. In fact, they're even doubling down on it seems. Anyways though, more on their culture, the Templars are extremely fanatical, and when they aren't killing the heretic, mutant, and Xeno, they spread the Emperor's will by enlightening the ignorant. They value purity and devotion above all else, and have scoured entire worlds that they deem corrupted. However, unlike someone like the Marines Malevolent, they aren't gonna go around killing civilians for fun. The Templars fight for the...
Apparently this was changed in 10th edition, where they do maliciously kill faithful and loyal civilians. I don't have the codex, so I don't know for certain. I also don't know why people are so shocked to hear the Templars are kind of meanies and crazy killers. That's most things in 40k. And Templars are one of the most extreme killers. Basically every faction commits atrocities on their enemies. That being said, if the civilian self-purges thing I read things I read are true. That's pretty grim derp, not gonna lie. Yeah.
Emperor first and foremost, and the Emperor's self-appointed
Yeah,
duty was to
a little
protect
bit.
humanity in his own way. So, like the Emperor, the Templars are willing to commit
God,
horrible
dude.
atrocities if they believe them to be necessary. But they hold no malice
Oh my
towards
god,
the
there's more
faithful.
text to read. I always interpreted the Templars are zealots who are incredibly evilly brutal to those they deem heretical and corrupted, but like callous at worst to faithful Imperials to out-reverent at best. Like they aren't getting cats out of trees or doing salamander civilian saving, but I like the idea that they're a crazy religious group that goes around and fires up the Imperial citizens into a religious frenzy or guides them to the light of the Emperor. If it's true they just kill civilians for funnies, that's just less interesting and grimderp. Because it makes no sense. Them killing millions or more to bring worlds into submissions is grimdark. Them committing atrocities against Imperials. Oh, okay. Being malicious to loyal Imperials is honestly silly, but again, I don't have the codex, so I can't really take a definitive statement as I don't have the context. Feel free to comment if you have more. I may just be getting the wrong idea from the tiny excerpts and statements I've seen when I was just casually scrolling. Yeah, word.
The compliant. High Marshal Helbrecht even famously said that the strength of the Imperium lies in its faithful people. And they've been known to inspire the people of the Imperium to take up arms and fight alongside the chapter against the heretical. All things considered, and in general, the Black Templars wouldn't be the worst chapter to save your planet. I'd be much more worried about the Iron Hands or, God forbid, the Grey Knights.
I was gonna say Grey Knights,
again,
I
this
would be
is if
more
you're
worried
a
if it was
faithful
Grey Knights.
loyalist. If you're a traitor, phew! Let's just say the Black Templars won't be giving you any juice boxes. And finally, curiously, I've seen many people say that the Templars are the Fist chapter to be the least like Dorn, and I couldn't disagree more. Yeah, sure, on the surface, fanatical Crusaders are a far cry from the logical and meticulous Primarch, but deep down to their core, the Templars and Dorn are very much aligned. Dorn was a dude defined by his duty. He was hyper-focused on being a tool of the Emperor, extremely valued truth and purity, and he literally went on a penitent crusade in black armor where he went insano style on some traitors. Now, take the Templars, who at their core are Marines hyper-devoted to the God Emperor as they believe it to be the best way to prove their loyalty and fulfill their ultimate duty. They seek to purge the galaxy of the impure, and they love going on crazy-ass crusades. The Black Templars are definitely sons of Dorn and embody his traits very well in my opinion. But anyways, that's the Black Templars. They were never my favorite chapter, but I can't deny that they're one of the most badass things in all of 40k, and I'll always appreciate them. Plus, of all the Knight-like chapters, the Templars are the best by a long shot. I also really love the idea of the Emperor's Champion. He's just such a badass unit. Also, their model line is some of the best Primaris models ever. They look super badass. Anyways though, let me know what you think of the video in the comments below, and whether or not you like the Black Templars or the Crimson Fist more. I tend to swing between the two depending on what I'm in the mood for, but they're both really cool. And if you want an awesome Krakduk plush, be sure to visit the link in the description to sign the petition. I'm really excited to see how this goes, and I hope.
Yeah, this channel is a lot, by the way, guys. If you want to watch, I'm not gonna watch every single video here tonight, but if you want to watch more Krakduk, great guy, great videos that I've seen. You know, it'd be funny, guys, if we listen to some tabletop terrors. Have you guys ever listened or watched tabletop terrors videos? These are so fucking funny. Actually, here, let's watch one more Krakduk video, and then we're gonna watch this. I love Wizard in the t-shirt. He's so funny.
At Planet Fitness, no two members are alike, but they all have one thing in common.
Welcome back.
All right. So the last Krakduk video we're gonna watch tonight is, let's do, where was it? Where was the Grey Knights one? Where was the Grey Knights one? I swear there was a Grey Knights one. This one right here.
Hi friends, Space Marines are certainly cool, but you know what would make them even cooler? Well, if they're all wizard knights, had sweet shiny armor, and arm guns. With all that cool stuff, you have the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are a rather unique chapter and are one of the most, if not the most, elite Space Marine chapters ever. These fellas are the premier demon hunters of the Imperium as the Ordo Militant of the Inquisitorial Ordo Malleus. The Grey Knights were made at the tail end of the Horus Heresy, right before the final clash with Horus. The Emperor prepared the Imperium for the worst. Well, some would say that the Horus Heresy was the worst, so I suppose the super worst.
The super worst.
But anyways, knowing that if he fell, the Imperium would be vulnerable to the ever-growing forces of chaos, the Emperor sent Super Chad Malcador to gather Imperials fit to defend humanity from the ever-growing chaos menace. Malcador brought forth 4 normal human lords and 8 space marines. Most of the marines were likely from his Knights Errant, which were an elite group of marines from all chapters, traitor and loyalist, who performed special operations for Mr. the Sigillite. These marines were taken to the moon of Saturn, Titan, to establish a new chapter in the ultra super secret fortress monastery on Titan. Originally, this new chapter began with marines from existing legions, but going forth, all new aspirants would be forged with a special gene seed based on the Emperor himself. Malcador appointed Janus, a former Thousand Son, to be the first Supreme Grand Master of the Knights and began production on the new mysterious breed of marines. And thus, the 666th chapter was born. Cause yeah, 18, 19, 20, 666. Alright, that's a bit disingenuous as there is an in-lore explanation for this. During the Siege of Terra, there was just so much insano warp energies in the solar system that funky shit started happening. And of said funky shit, one of the funkier shits was the entire moon of Saturn just disappearing into the warp. And then years later, during the second founding, it finally returned. And thus, the Grey Knights were officially dubbed the 666th chapter, which also seems a bit far-fetched as the second founding almost certainly didn't have 646 new chapters. But we all know that the Grey Knights were clearly named the 666th chapter because it's cool and edgy, and they just wrote some of the lore to be band-aid solutions to the reasonings. It doesn't really matter that it doesn't make sense, because it's cool, and it's also kind of funny that the ultra-demon-hating chapter bears the number of the beast. But anyways, one convenient thing about your super mega chapter disappearing into the warp for a bit is that the warp is a strange place and time rarely progresses regularly. Plus, you'll constantly be facing demons and horrors beyond human comprehension.
Is that a fucking...
That second one might not sound like...
Hang on. The pink horrors are doing the fucking... That's so fucking funny.
Demons and horrors beyond human comprehension. Which, that second one might not sound like a benefit, but for insano super dudes like the Grey Knights, it indeed is.
Hell yeah. God damn it.
So, when the Grey Knights returned to real space, they were already a full-fledged chapter of elite demon-killing machines, fortified against the treacherous influences of chaos. How convenient. Oh boy, that certainly sounds cool. How can I become a Grey Knight? Well, first off, every aspirant has to be a psyker, so tough luck. That writes off 101% of my viewers with an approximate 1% margin of error. But for the absolute 0% of you who are psychers, these psychers are often chosen from the black ships transporting psychers to Holy Terra. Promising psychers are taken to the Chamber of Trials on the Grey Knight homeworld of Titan, and if they pass the trials, they are subjected to a more sophisticated version of the regular Space Marine augmentation process and psycho indoctrination. Then, after all that, they have to pass the 666 rituals of detestation. These rituals are super mega nutty insano. So nutty insano that most full-fledged Space Marines wouldn't be able to pass them. But if these aspirants do pass, their memories and their past lives are wiped and they're given a new name. Reborn, the Space Marine neophytes train under a Justicar until they're promoted to novitiates and are officially accepted into the chapter. The final standard augmentation for Grey Knights is a subdermal silver purity ward across their body to further fortify them against the influences of chaos. Each and every Grey Knight is a powerful psyker, and they're trained to harness their psyker energies into a protective warding aura known as the Aegis. This training allows them to essentially channel their soul energy through their armors and become anathema to demons, kind of like a mini version of the Emperor's aura.
That's
In
cool.
addition, they're taught anti-demon tactics. One potent tactic is true names, and another is, of course, cool sword skills. But back to the first
Yeah.
one. To
Fuck you,
demonstrate
Jeff.
how powerful true names really are, one time, absolute Mad Lad Supreme Grandmaster Caldor Drago was able to incapacitate a demon Primarch Mortarion by speaking his true name. By speaking his true name, he was able to
John
weaken the Primarch,
Deathguard.
and then he flexed on him by carving the previous Grandmaster's name into Mortarion's heart.
That's
Now,
funny.
depending on how much you like the
That's
Knights
really
and
funny.
/ or how much you think that Chaos is a total joke, this moment may or may not be total bullshit. But it is a canon moment that demonstrates just how powerful of an asset a true name can really be. This moment is totally bullshit, though. Anyways, though, although Grey Knights are some of the best,
There's a lot
if
of
not
40K
the
that's just
best,
kinda
and
bullshit.
they have some of the best, if not the best equipment to face chaos, the forces of chaos are endlessly vicious and viciously endless. So, in the
Yeah.
grim darkness of the far future, not even the stalwart Grey Knights are immune to getting stabbed to death by big old demon swords.
Right.
When killed, if possible, a
Fucking
fallen Grey
Family
Knight is
Guy
taken
death
to the
pose.
death field to Titan. Their body is then cleansed of taint, and then a 666 word oath of sanctity is inscribed on their corpse.
Ooh.
But Grey Knights are a lot more interesting alive, so let's talk about their fighting style and unique weapons. All of the Grey Knight stuff is made on their exclusive Forge World at Deimos. Since Deimos is a moon of Mars, it's one of the smallest Forge Worlds, but it
Alright.
makes some of the most powerful gear. So that's right,
Oh
fellas,
my God.
size doesn't matter. Also, funnily enough, this moon was magically taken from Mars's orbit and put into Titan's orbit. How convenient. Of these weapons,
apparently
we
everything is
obviously have their
666 for the
arsenal
Grey
of
Knights.
Nemesis Force weapons that fits their knightly theme. Force weapons are weapons that are psychically attuned to the user to be extra deadly to their foes, and extra deadly to their demonic foes. The most common Nemesis weapons are
Cool.
swords, halberds, demon hammers, warding staves, and, coolest of all, dual Nemesis falchions. Woo!
Ooh.
Wait, probably just as cool as the falchions is the mother flippin' Nemesis Doomfist of the Dreadnoughts and Dreadknights.
Ooh.
Woo!
Not the character from the
Then,
cringe Marvel
in conjunction with their
ripoff.
melee armaments, one of the coolest and most iconic aspects of the Grey Knights are their fucking epic arm-mounted storm bolters. Woo! Coolest shit ever. Originally, their Nemesis weapons had bolters on them like Custody Guardian Spears, but they eventually switched to having arm mounts, probably because it's sick as hell.
Yeah,
The
it
arm
is.
mounts free up their offhand to better use their melee weapons, but it also keeps them ready to unleash ranged salvos at a moment's notice. These bolters are operated with psychic impulses, and each of their bolts are meticulously crafted over many
That's
years.
cool.
To make
That's really
even a
cool.
single blessed null bolt, a person pure of soul and devotion is sacrificed. And you thought 50
Jesus.
cents to shoot a 357 was bad. Phew!
Oh dear lord, here goes $3.
Yeah, this is a public service announcement to anyone out there. Come get cooked, I'm telling you.
Bruh.
The sacrifice of a single person is debatably worth it since null bolts are extremely effective against warp entities as it severs them from the immaterium and thus greatly weakening them, if not just straight up killing them. But also, storm bolters shoot like a ton of bolts, so is like a single burst really more effective logistically than a few guardsmen or a gaggle of devoted Imperials? I don't know, but it also shows how insano and callous the Imperium can be, so that's interesting flavoring at least. Also, theoretically, these would only be used against greater demons and other threats that are near immune to conventional weaponry, but I play Chaos Gate Demon Hunters, and let me tell you, hundreds of souls are lost to kill no-name hobo cultists and overly suspicious pillars, so take that as you will.
I have
Moving
not
on,
played
some
Demon
common
Hunters
special
yet,
weapons
but
that the Knight
I kinda
choose are
want to.
Psy Cannons, Silencers, and Incinerators. Psy Cannons are basically storm bolters that
Super
use
Wizard
an even more
bolters.
insano round charged
That's
with
cool.
negative psychic energy. Then, Silencers are actually a Xenos weapon modified to be used by the Grey
Oh.
Knights. Their exact function is unknown, but it basically focuses and amplifies the user's psychic energies into energy blasts. These
That's
blasts
really
are so
cool.
potent that they could destabilize demons. And then finally, incinerators are basically just flamethrowers, but with, you guessed it, psychic charging. The Prometheum
Oh.
used is psychically charged to shoot impossibly hot flames and to melt demons with literal hot burning holy faith.
Cool.
Then, up next, we have their iconic Aegis armor. This is a special modified variant of power armor with special psychic circuitry and anti-chaos wards. Once again, many psychers are sacrificed to forge a single suit of Aegis armor.
There's
And
a
to
lot
me,
of-
this is more justifiable than the damn bolt.
Psychers are weird in this setting because it's like they're some of the strongest individuals in this setting, right? But then you have like, oh yeah, psychers, yeah, they're just gonna be meat fuel for the Grey Knights and the Emperor. Like, I don't know. It's just it's always seemed a little weird to me how like psychers are supposed to be like special and everything, but then you just have like, oh yeah, casually 100 psyker, or is it 100 or is it 1,000? 1,000 psychers a day to keep the Emperor alive, and then you've got a bunch of psychers that are sacrificed to forge the armor and the weapons of the Grey Knights. It's like, are psychers really that important? Are they really that prized to you?
Since the armor isn't really an expendable
I mean, I guess they would be prized if they're needed to make like this stuff work, but like, is that the only reason?
resource like the ammo is. But thanks to the kind sacrifice of those psychers, Aegis armor is super durable and resilient against demons, psychic attacks, and obviously conventional weaponry. But
Cool.
if they want to be even more unkillable, they can opt for Terminator armor. And uniquely, every single Grey Knight is authorized to use Terminator armor rather than just a veteran, since
That's
to even
cool.
become a Grey Knight, you're already the top of the top.
Yeah.
Then, as for Grey Knight tactics, they operate in complete secrecy. Even to other Space Marines, the Knights are either wholly unknown or mere myths. And to those who do witness them, they're mind wiped or executed. To ensure this
Lovely.
secrecy, the Knights are only called to face the most heinous chaos threats. When summoned, they try to complete their objective as quickly as possible. So, they'll teleport close to their enemy as possible, wreck shit, and then teleport away in complete secret. And
Hell
if
yeah.
any other Imperials do catch a glimpse of them, well, the Inquisition will throw a bitch fit and try to execute all those Imperials. Furthermore, in the tactics department, Grey Knights are often put into specialized squads. Strike squads are the basic unit that forms the backbone of their formations, and scepter squads are the coolest ones, as they all have personal teleporters to wreak havoc with unparalleled mobility. Then,
That's
purgation squads are the heavy weapon specialists, and finally, the two most elite squads are the purifiers and the paladins. Both of these are composed of the most elite and most pure knights in the chapter.
Hell
The
yeah.
purifiers are the holiest and most spiritual. They ensure the sanctity of the order while also inspiring their brothers in battle. And the paladins are the most accomplished fighters in the chapter. These dudes are even nuttier than the average Grey Knight and are some of the most skilled combatants in the Imperium and entire universe for that matter.
Ooh.
And finally, let's close this off with the coolest Grey Knight, nay, the coolest Warhammer unit of all time. The greatest, the most badassest, ultra spectacular killing machine,
think I know what
the
it is.
Nemesis
Yep,
Dread
I
Knight.
knew it. Nemesis Dread Knight.
Okay, well, not gonna lie, I do kind of like the Dread Knight. It kind of reminds me of those Matrix mechs, or even more badassly, the
I like the general design, I guess. I've never been a fan of like the battle suits, like the ones that are like the war suits. Let me hang on. Like the I think it's called like Invictus or like Invictor. Invictor Tactical Warsuit. It's like, why would you want one of these if you have like dreadnoughts? I get it that like dreadnoughts are for like injured Space Marines and whatever. So I guess this is like a better alternative if you're just like a non-injured Space Marine. But at the same time, like, why would you bother wanting one of these when you could have a dreadnought? I don't know. I mean, I don't think this counts as a dreadnought. Dread Knight. I feel so bad for Grey Knights fans, dude, because Grey Knights have they didn't even get a new model this edition. Their new model, quote unquote, was an upgrade sprue. Was a fucking upgrade sprue for the Dread Knight. It's so stupid, man.
Lego Exoforce dudes. Plus, this is far from the
Holy goated reference. I remember this shit. Oh my god.
dumbest thing in the Grey Knights. Their average lore blurb is like 5 times sillier than how this thing looks. If the model could just do anything but its silly ass awkward prom picture stance, it actually does look pretty badass. Plus, this thing was made to combat greater demons, so the imagery of this thing dueling a huge bloodthirster or something is just super hella cool. But that's the Grey Knights. If you want an ultra elite but not quite Custodes elite, super ultra pure mega marines, then these are your boys. Hell, in their entire chapter history, not a single knight fell to chaos. Oh man, that is pure. And also, admittedly, I've never been that big of a Grey Knights fan. I'm more of a Space Wolf enjoyer myself. One big hangup I have is that I'm torn whether or not I like how silly extreme their lore is. A lot of people say that Grey Knights are an example of grim derp, and that would be because they are. Like, the 1 in a million novitiates becoming Grey Knights thing. A single life for a single bullet. Hundreds of lives for armor, etc., etc. It's just logistically absurd. Like, it's hard to believe that 1,000 Space Marines or something is somehow less effective than a single Grey Knight. Or hell, even a Custodian seemingly has less sacrifice made to make one of them. And I actually love the silly and over-the-top nature of 40k. Grey Knights just kind of skirt the line for me.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm going through Dallas, I go to Nick and Sam's Steakhouse.
Alright. Guess what, chat? We are now watching a wizard in a t-shirt video. Oh, that's a lovely frame to start on. This is middle-aged men yelling at toy soldiers. I love like horror stories like this, and I know it's kind of a weird thing to love because it's like you shouldn't want this stuff to happen in your hobby because it's like bad. But I just love seeing all like the crazy shit that some people do. It's always like almost always pretty similar to each other, but there's always like one thing. There's always one fucking thing that's like, what the fuck?
Welcome back. I'm Wizard in a T-shirt. When I'm not busy discovering what Nern Oil tastes like, or even eating Magic the Gathering cards, I'm busy reading about what the hell is wrong with the community. Specifically, Warhammer.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say that these stories that we read can go from really funny to really terrifying really quickly. Especially when you're reading stories that come from the competitive scene.
Oh god.
Which is why in my deep dark searches and terrifying readings, I have discovered...
Sorry to pause again. There is a local store around where I live, and their 40k scene is exclusively like competitive. So I was playing a 40k tournament. This was a while ago. I think it was definitely last year. And there was like 2 or 3 of like the competitive bunch that were in that tournament, and they were nice enough. Like, I personally have not had the great fortune to experience like a tabletop horror or like a Reddit story worthy moment. But it was just, it was insane. You would go in there and they would just be like, yeah, you lose. It was like, oh, all right. I was going against this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name for privacy reasons, and he was a really nice guy, and I like him, and I've played against him a few times. I lost every time, but his whole gag, so he plays Tyranids, and his whole gag is just bringing in like the big like beasts. So for a tournament, for that tournament that I played in, he brought a fucking Biotitan, and that was like 99% of his army. I think he had like like maybe 1 or 2 other like models in that army, but it was pretty much just the Biotitan. And I was like, oh shit. So, like, on one hand, you've got one target, which is easy. But on the other hand, it's a fucking Biotitan. What are you gonna do to a Biotitan except for chip damage? Literally nothing. Like, this is also the same guy who, like, sometimes for his casual matches, he brings in a list of just, like, all, like, Norn creatures. So, like, emissaries and whatever the other one is. I don't, assimilators. And, oh my god. He's terrifying. Alright, anyways.
3 more Warhammer 40k stories to tell that go to show that even the smallest of toy soldiers can make middle-aged men lose their fucking shit. But as always, let's delve deep into the grim dark. I'm actually excited about these because I won't lie, when I was reading these kind of pissed me off a bit. So I'm sure this is just gonna be a swell on time. Our first story comes from the Warhammer competitive subreddit. It was posted 5 years ago from Zero Sum Games, called A Story of Top Table, a Salty Opponent, and Shady Dice Rolls. Greetings, fellow warriors of the Imperium.
Before we start this, I gotta... Why? What the fuck? I gotta... Hello, YouTube? What the shit? Oh my god.
Welcome back. I'm Wizard.
Okay, so before we start this, I'm gonna go... Why? No, turn my volume up, goddammit. I'm gonna go get some water, because my water bottle is empty. I'll be right back. Literally, like, I'm not even gonna bother turning my mic off for this one. Actually, fuck it. I don't think you guys want to hear me romping down my stairs into my kitchen. I'll be right back. Oh, Jesus, goddammit. Jesus Christ, my whole room smells like mac and cheese. Oh my gosh. Alright. Anyways.
A salty opponent, and shady dice rolls. Greetings, fellow warriors of the Imperium, Xeno scum, and or heretics. I come to bitch.
I come to
Alright, that's
bitch.
already a great start. That's already got me into it. Let's go. Last night, I finished a month-long tournament. We play once a week, and we power match the next week until there's a final matchup for the top spot. For my first time in my short play history, I was at the final table matchup against another guy, who also, I believe, was making his first appearance at the top table. I had probably the most intense post-game experience of my 40k career, and I want to share it. You know, I wish a lot more people would share their experience about what happens at comps, because there's just crazy shit that I always, will hear in small tandems about, but I just want the details. I need to hear the details, okay? They must speak to me. First things first, I'm a grown-ass man. Late 30s, married,
That's always
2
a great
kids, and a
precursor.
stable job kind of guy. I show up at a league night to drink some beers and roll some dice. And while I want to win, I don't have anything to prove. I'm there to have fun. Most of the other guys in the league are a bit younger than me, maybe in their 20s. Some are older. Almost universally, we have a great and friendly scene, and I think that desire to have fun is widely shared.
Okay.
I think it's generally what anybody wants. Anybody that plays 40k is just looking to have a good time. No one wants to have to deal with that guy. Nobody does. Because at the end of the day, then it just puts into a play of, oh, this is going to suck next time, instead of it being an exciting time like it should be.
Yeah.
My opponent, I could tell well before the game, had a bit of attitude about the whole thing. One thing that stood out is that he actually had some pre-game trash talk.
Oh,
Last week,
lovely.
when we knew we'd square up on the final table, there was a little arrogant, dismissive talk, and that's all good, I figure. Well, you know, it's fine to do some head games. I don't like to do it, but to be honest, it kind of worked on me. I was like, shit, maybe his list is that good. I need to really carefully think about this. Then last night, as we're prepping for the game, there was more of the same thing. Oh, my list can outdo yours. And I'm going to blow this thing off the table turn 1. Okay, already off the bat, when you got people saying that shit, it's like, all right, well, fuck you too, buddy. Like, there's the fun trash talk of like, I'm gonna smash your guys, but if you're just like telling people, yeah, you're gonna get destroyed turn 1, it's just like, yeah, let's find out, you little shit fuck. Let's find out. Go ahead. Whip your Space Marines, whip your Xenos. I'll smack you down and we'll find out what happens, okay? Nothing really offensive, but certainly not friendly pregame joshing about. And again, fine. Let's just set up and play. My list is Knight Castellan, 2 Arminger Warglaves, Pask with Battle Cannon. I'm going to try to say these the best I can. TC with Relic Battle Cannon, Basilisk Hellhound, and a bunch of infantry. His list is 3 Knights of Avenger Gatling / Thermal Cannons, backed up by 3 Adeptus
like
Mechanicus tank things that I'd never seen before, and some character buffs, plus Skitarii. The board is a pretty standard ITC. Ruins everywhere, ruins everywhere, with a big LOS blocking building dead center. We deploy on the long side and he plops essentially his entire army dead center behind the building. I spread my army out across the long side with the Castellan tucked in the rear right. I win the roll for first turn. First turn, I put some serious hurt on. I didn't manage to kill anything, and I gambled by splitting fire with my Castellan. One of his knights had 3 wounds left, so I pointed half of the guns at it and half of the ones at his tank, and I lost the gamble. Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh.
That usually is how it is. It's like you want to have that hope that you can just pierce right through the armor because it's got so little health, but then it's just because of the strength compared to that toughness where you're trying to roll it out and it just doesn't do it, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks to feel like you've got that one chance and then you blew it. You blew it, all right? It's over. Even so, I put some hurt on. My Hellhound ran up the flank towards his engineer Skitarii, sitting on the objective. While my Arbingers moved around his left center, I end the turn with a bunch of points on Kingslayer and Titan Slayer, but no kills.
Oof.
So while I'm rolling my turn, I can see he's sweating it. I had a couple of good rolls, some hot dice on the hits, and wounds. On the other hand, my Castellan kind of ate shit when I needed him to show up, but I could tell I did way more damage than he expected. So it's his turn, and he moves his knight and points them at my Castellan. I'm standing back at the rear right of the table by my knight, and he is rolling his dice on the very far side of the table. I see him roll 3 dice, and he says 3 hits. But I can see that there is a fucking 1 sitting right there. So I called him out, and he's just like, yeah, 2 hits.
Bruh.
No.
Bruh.
No, you don't do that shit. No. That's the thing, man, is I know some people are gonna say it's lame, but I think it's always important that all players see all the dice rolls. And I'm not saying they gotta hover over your shoulder and be like, what you got there?
Right.
Just more that everyone can see what goes in the bin, because dice rolls and counting the dice rolls is a very important thing. And sometimes people will fuck up or do cases like this where they'll try to cheat it out until someone calls them out on it, and then they'll swap up their answer. But even in this case, this is a moment where I would get very suspicious and a little heated. Not mad, but, you know, a little hot. This was no mistake. I know it. I know people. I know when people are full of shit. And he was full of shit.
Oh, no.
I let it slide, though. Whatever. I'll just have to watch every damn dice roll. Hey, that's how it is, man. If you got your suspicion, that's how it is. Do what you gotta do. So he keeps rolling, and he manages to barely kill my Castellan with everything he's got. Even then, I'm not sure about some of those dice rolls. It was getting real shady, just sort of rolling dice, and I'm like, wait, What are you shooting with, and what are you shooting at? But again, I let it go.
Yeah.
Next, he declares charges. My knight armigers are sitting on the backside of this big LOS blocking center ruin. He can't walk through it, and it's too long to go around. He declares a charge saying he can run up and put the base of his unit against the backside of the building, and that it would be within 1 inch of my armiger's base. I look down at the armiger, and I basically just disagree with his assessment.
What?
Meanwhile, he is trying to fit his giant-ass knight into this space where it doesn't really fit. There's a walkway on the second floor, and he's maneuvering his knight's arms to try to get him squished in there.
Bruh.
The ruin is getting bumped around. My armiger is getting jostled. It's very unclean. Dude,
okay.
I hate it when people do this, okay? Listen, I understand you want to try to get the best advantage on the base of your model because you're trying to say, well, the base can fit in there, but you don't understand that you look stupid when you're shoving your shit into these spots that obviously don't fit, okay? If a dreadnought don't fit in a tight-spaced wall, then don't shove it into the tight-spaced wall because otherwise it wouldn't do that, okay? That's just how that's how I.
That's another thing too. It's like piggybacking off of that. The amount of shit that I've seen that's like, okay, well, you know, it's like you said. It's like, well, technically, if even though I'm not right up next to you, the gun on my knight can touch yours, which means I'm in engagement range. It's like, okay, but especially when it gets to like jostling around the terrain, it's like, all right, you're literally just trying to, you're trying to pull off something that you can't pull off. Like, stop. Like, once it starts to getting to like jostling terrain and like kind of bumping around other models, it's like, dude, like, cut it out, man.
See that, okay? It's also another thing when people will like shove tanks on the very top of like ruins just because the base fits perfectly on top. Like, for me, I'm just like, I don't know about that one, man. I'm sure rule-wise it's fine, but there's just a part of me where it's like, if your tank was on a thin building on the very top of the roof, one, how the fuck is it getting down? And two, how's it not crumbling down? Finally, he says he's within an inch. And I'm like, well, I can't really tell. I don't think so. Let's lift the building up and measure. The problem is, we can't do it because his knight is so jammed up in there. It's definitely close, but I can't see a way to measure it. I just offer to roll it off with a 1-3, it's my way, 4-6, it's his way. We roll, it comes up a 3, so the charge fails, and so we move on.
Okay.
I'm still in that mindset, like, you just shouldn't really be able to do that, man.
Yeah.
If it don't fit, it don't fit. You can try to cram it in, but that doesn't mean it's gonna fit in, okay? Damn, that's what she said.
I was gonna
Eventually, I kill 2 of his knights, my hellhound deletes his engineers before they can score a point, important for later, and I manage to grab objectives with my troops. His final knight ends up wrecking through my armor line, and it's a close affair the whole way. But by the end of the game, I've got 24 points, and he's got 23. You win, he says, dejectedly. But wait, he declares, I got an engineer point. And I'm like, man, no you don't. I fucking flamethrowered their ass turn 2. And we've been keeping good score this whole game. He doesn't push the point. Yeah, dude, I mean, when you got a player that's paying attention, you're going to have to suffer the wrath that you can't have a little cheat moment, because, yeah, if he burned your men, he burned your men, bro. This is an interesting aspect when people will try to pull, like, the last second, but I've got these bonus points, like they either say for, like, secondaries, or even in this case, like, engineers. It's like, well, we got to keep it in track. If you didn't state it before, and in their case, if they're already destroyed and in and out, then there's no way to really track it, and or if the person's already knows, then you fucked. So we pack up our armies, and I grab a beer. And I come back to the table. He's just steaming. He's telling me that I haven't been playing long enough to deserve top table. What? He's been working on his list for 4 months, and his list has won a tournament. He starts relegating this issue with the failed charge into my armiger, getting real heated about it. He starts accusing me of over-generous movements with my armingers. There was a point where I moved an arminger 8 inches, which was its max move on bracket, and I measured it out. He eyeballed it ex post facto, and I just let him move it back a couple of inches. It didn't really matter to me. If I made a mistake, fine. I don't think I did, and that's where you step in and you argue it, dude. I am hard, and I stick hard to this fact that this game is a lot of rule saying. It really is. And if you know your army point for point and you know what they do, and someone's trying to call you out on that, argue, man. I think it's fair to argue.
Yeah,
because I'm not gonna.
That is fair. I hate people like this, the people that are just assholes. Yeah.
Have somebody move my stuff back if that is exactly how the rule set it says plays. Okay? You don't know my army like how I don't know your army. And if I'm not going to tell you how to play your army, you cannot tell me how to play mine unless you know. Because if we both know, then we both know and no one needs to fucking speak. But what still annoys me out of this is the model touching. Ask first, explain then. Do not just do it out of your own action, because this shit pisses me off when people touch models and don't say anything about it.
Yeah.
That is a no-no. But now I'm getting steamed. Here I am. I've calmly endured his trash talking. I've had a good attitude, and he's just unloading with this excuses and shit. I reminded him that I caught him cheating on the first roll of the game. And he just said, well, yeah. Then you're fucked. Shut up. Then you're fucked. Don't argue when you literally were caught cheating. That off the game could have got him kicked. If you caught someone cheating, he literally could have called a tournament organizer and got the motherfucker sent out to the sea. Like, literally, be thankful. Be thankful. And then I swear to God, he admitted to doing it again.
I go to tournaments for the fun and laugh. I fully go and expecting to get my shit kicked in. Yeah, same.
For a dice that I couldn't see that rolled under the overhang of a building. I'm thinking, what the actual fuck, man? But I just tried to calm it all down. I offered to buy him a beer. We shook hands. He was trying to keep it cool, you know. But he was hurting, and I get it. Anyway, we do a little award ceremony thing after the league, and a raffle. I get announced as the top general, and I politely pump a victorious fist. I looked across the room, though, and this kid had murder in his eyes. I mean it. I've been in some serious shit in my life. High-state criminal prosecutions, multi-million-dollar lawsuits.
Holy shit.
I've never had someone look at me like this before. Red face, scowling, barely controlled inner rage. Really kind of bummed me out, to be honest. Last night, I carried more stress over this shit than I should have. And now, I'm typing out this long-ass post over it. So suffice, it will say that the whole thing was a little traumatic, I guess. When a prize is put on the line, you see a lot of people's, like, attitude towards the game really change in the process of playing it. Because there's a lot of people that come there to just play the game, entering to have a good time. But there are folks that pull up there that just show up to win. They show up with the main agenda that they are here to destroy your army, take home the prize, and have everyone see their face as the winner. And it's just stupid.
There was, sorry, I'm gonna pause again. That kind of reminds me, not like going back to the tournament that I played in a little while ago. So one of the players was Chaos Space Marines, like me, and I'm not really a fan of. I like the guy. He's nice enough, but the two things that kind of irk me about him. The first one is the paint jobs. I'm not gonna show anything here, but imagine like the dustiest paint job you have ever seen, because I know, like, sometimes you'll have people that are like, they paint or like they prime their stuff like in like the wrong or like the not ideal temperatures, so then the primer gets all like fucked and it gets all dusty and everything. So imagine that, right, with the most like vomit inducing like whatever you want to call it, like the like synthwave aesthetic, and then with like Elmer's glue, and like aquarium terrain, like brightly colored, like pebble, like aquarium terrain. And I was like, my eyes hurt looking at this. What the fuck? And then so this same guy was playing, and he was playing against a Tau player, and this Tau player is like the best around here, and he wasn't even playing competitively. He was just playing like casual Tau, and he suffice to say, he rocked the shit out of this Chaos Marines player. He didn't like, the Chaos Marines player didn't like flip his shit or anything, but like it was like this match, and the tournament wasn't even over, but it was like I think it was like second, it was like second heat or something like that, and this guy he finished the match, and then he just packed up his stuff up and he just stormed out, and I was like, buddy, what? Like, he didn't even like the Tau player was like trying to like offer him like advice and stuff at the end of it, and he wasn't listening, and he just packed up and left, and I was like, damn, that's kind of, I mean, you know, that's not like the worst thing to happen, and I'm glad nothing else bad happened, but I was like, what the fuck, guy? Like, at least be like a good loser. Like, come on. Anyways,
You know, it's just flat out childish, because at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to have fun. So when you have to deal with the one guy that's going to go on a temper tantrum about why he didn't win the game, and then proceed to also admit in the process that he was cheating in the game, which could get you fucked out of any tournaments.
the fact that he cheated and still lost is hilarious to me.
It's like, be thankful that this guy didn't get your ass, dude, because he could have got your ass right then and there, and he let him go. So, you know what? Props to this guy for dealing with the situation, winning in the process, by the way, and just having to, I guess, deal with the incel of the night. Whew, that one actually got me a little heated. It's the model touching, dude. The model touching is just what gets me. I can't do that. Our next story also comes from the Warhammer competitive subreddit, posted 4 years ago by Big Blind Panda, called Shortest/Worst Competitive Games. Once again, another competitive doozy one. 8th edition. Tau. Me versus Orc. Him. Tournaments at FLGS. Make-up games between weekly sessions. The shortest game. Game 1. I deploy several troops. Yavara and marker light characters deep into cover in my side of the table. I put the rest into reserve. My opponent similarly deploys his forces deep into cover on his side of the board, and half into reserve. We roll to see who goes first, and I win the roll. Seeing how defensively he deployed, I figured he was going to wait for me to push, and either drop my backline or overwhelm the front. So I chose to go second. He figured he'd come to me. This surprised him, but he immediately declared he was going to pass his first turn, not moving a model. In response, I also declared pass. Turn 2, same thing. He declared pass without moving a model. As did I. Dude, what the fuck's going on here? We just doing a staring contest? Well, I do understand. The man is playing Tau against some orcs, and let me tell you, this is probably going to be a slaughter. Yeah. Just depending. If those orcs can get up into his line, then yeah, he can get there. But if he's holding down the angles, that blue fish commie's gonna get you. Upon passing turn 2, my opponent stated, "You know, if you don't bring in your reserves turn 3, you lose them, right?" To which I responded, "Yep. So do you, and you play first." Ooh. He pondered a moment before dropping his reserves in my back line, but keeping the other portion deep in cover. His drop managed to kill a few models and wound a few more, but his split fire didn't wipe any units. Ooh. He then failed his charge rolls, which were quite long due to his deployment and target selection. To this, I responded by dropping all of my reserves right on top of his drop. Ooh. Between my reserves and main army, I was able to kill off every model that he pulled in, only leaving his main force on the opposite corner of the board. We were playing the 8th edition mission where you scored points for killing units. I had scored more points than him, and at this point in the battle, it was clear in an instant that he wasn't going to be able to cross the field turn 4 or 5. And if he did, he'd be walking into a Tau castle all along the way. I'm telling you, man, like, those railguns back in the day, when I read about the railguns, it's some crazy shit, dude. Cut right through the invuln saves. Like, for orcs, I know they're not going to have a lot, but, dude, even for just, like, shooting out the characters...
Hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby.
But just know, a lot of people hate Tau for this sort of reason, because you can get into melee with them and fuck them up. But don't try to do a shooting competition with them.
You have to get into melee first.
You'll die.
You'll die.
The game began and ended about 4 minutes or less after deployment, with turn 1 and turn 2 taking combined 30 seconds
Holy
to complete.
shit.
That's lame, man. That's super lame. Because
4 minutes? 4 minutes.
flat out, the orcs player was just like, come at me, and then the Tau player's like, no, come at me. Because it would make sense that a Tau's not going to push. It would make sense that they're not going to push. But for an orc to skip 2 turns, I'm thinking to myself...
That's... Yeah, no.
This left a bit of salt in my opponent, who immediately asked for a second game. The worst game.
Oh, no.
Game 2. My opponent kerfuffled with the way in which he lost the first game, asked for a second game. The game began, and he moved out too far from cover by about 6 inches.
Oh, no.
On my turn, I picked up some dice, lit up the unit with marker lights, and began selecting units to shoot, to which he responded, "Oh, those guys are too far away." I measured the distance, and sure enough, the models in question were well within range. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, a Tau is made for shooting. Most of the time, if they say they're in range...
They're in range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in fucking range. Like, you don't want them to, but depending on what big giant cannon or which giant robot you're shooting, yeah. Yeah, it can see, and it can get you. To which he responded, "Oh, well that's only if you measure. I didn't mean to move into range, so I'll just move the models back."
No.
To which I said, "Okay, even though we've used measures and laser pointers earlier in the match, in previous matches to measure, and let him..."
Laser pointers? Do people use laser pointers in the comp scene? What the fuck?
Adjust his models. I would disagree. Here's the thing, is like, if this is a competitive game, I would argue to say that once they're in place, they're in place.
Yeah,
now, a lot of people, casual people are probably looking at that like, dude, what the frick? But it's like, you have to understand, this is a competitive space, which means things get tight, things get real, and if you're fucking up, then yeah, you're gonna have to pay the consequences for it. You're going to have to. You can't just expect your opponent to just let you slide away with everything you're gonna do, because it's not that kind of space now. If you were playing in a regular game shop for something fun, yeah, you could do that, but if this is a competitive space,
well, even then, like, I play casual, and I've only ever, like, I don't like doing that, because it's the same kind of thing. It's like, once it's over, it's over. Like,
rules are rules, fucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
rules are
you
rules.
should always be measuring. That's not something you just round off. That's not something you just guess.
Yep.
That's something you really want to be on point of, because once again, in a competitive space, that can be taken as cheating. And the last thing you want is a guy calling a judge, he's fucking up the game. Like, it's the last thing you want to deal with. After he finished adjusting, I remeasured and began selecting valid units again. Once again, he stopped me and said, "Oh, well now you don't have line of sight." So I measured and used a laser pointer I keep in my kit to confirm the very clear line of sight from my models in my army to
I guess I can see why you would want a laser pointer. I guess, yeah.
multiple models in his army. Not talking like tip of the gun to the other tip, we're talking full model top to bottom to full model.
Ooh.
To this, he responded, "Well, I say they don't get to shoot because they don't have any proper line of sight, and are only in range because I didn't measure."
Bruh.
Once again, which should be another thing that you should be punished for in-game. If you fucked up the measurement, that is their measurement move. That is where they're moved. Once they are moved, they're moved, because it's already harder to get those spaces back. It's a confirmed thing when you move forward. And in competitive, yeah, you get punished for that, which I think this man should have flat out called him for. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
People may look at that and be like, you're brutal, you're a monster, but it's like, hey, I'm just saying, if this is a case where this guy wants to try to win against me, I'm gonna do my best to call it out.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, how about we just roll a d6 to resolve the question? Highs will go with your perspective, and they can't shoot. Lows will go with mine, and I'll shoot the ones I've called. This was tournament rules on settling disputes. Okay. This offer to settle the dispute was the last straw. In the middle of an otherwise fairly quiet store with folks playing board games, kids running around, and some poor soul manning the register, this adult in his 50s or 60s lost his damn mind.
Oh god, no.
Cursing and slurring everything from tape measures to shooting armies to the quality of the store and its tables and terrain.
Jesus.
The dice, you name it,
oh my god, bro.
A 50 or 60-year-old man having a full blowout in a game store.
That's crazy.
Dude, that employee that was probably just sitting there all night doing nothing, his night just got 10 times more exciting because now he gets to see a man-child lose his shit in the game.
Oh
he was
God.
irate and beyond able to be calmed. I work in behavioral health, so I'm used to outbursts of unusual behavior. And I did my best to keep this man calm among others who were clearly uncomfortable with him acting this way. The hilarious thing is, he didn't want to hurt his models. So there's a full-grown man cursing and screaming, carefully picking up his miniatures and placing them in individual slots in his phone case. Now this was an orc army, so this process took a long time, dude. I can already imagine it. Just the fucking bullshit. Just like slowly putting all these orcs away, gently and slowly, while having just the biggest freak out.
Oh my
enjoyable
God.
to watch, not enjoyable to be a part of, as I always say. It's an enjoyable time to probably watch, but never to have to be involved in. After running out of things to say, and looping back to repeat a few points he apparently felt were important a few extra times, he was only halfway through putting his models away. He wasn't in great shape, and also was panting for breath. It's an FLGS. The stank from the FNM's folks still hung in the air.
God.
That said, he was defiant in his anger and didn't want to appear to be calming down. So he just began making sounds like an angry child. The kind of sound you might make to mock someone as they're speaking. But nobody else was saying anything. He did this for a solid 5 or 10 minutes with everyone just watching in shock until he finally stormed out of the building and attempted to slam the door. You know, the glass doors with the hydraulic arm thing that closes them slowly behind him. Once he was out the door, the poor employee came in and asked, "What did I do to the man?" And everyone in the store just broke down laughing.
Oh my God.
He never returned to the store, unfriended everyone, and removed himself from all social medias we were plugged into. And those were the shortest and worst games I've ever played. After something like that happens, that is just the general reaction everyone's gonna have. Because after you watch a full-grown man have a man-child freak out, it is the funniest thing afterward, because in the moment it's an intense thing to watch, but just as you watch this person just slowly become just more and more of a child, it's like their brain just started counting down from 60 to 50 to 40 20, and then out of nowhere they're 5 years old again. Like that. I'm telling you, man, I would love to watch something like that happen. I'd love to watch a 50 or 60-year-old man just freak out over toys on a tabletop. Freaking out at toys over a tabletop at 50 or 60 years old, it must be quite a life goal for someone like him to accomplish. What if Andy just bought Warhammer? Do you think the Warhammer models would get along with, like, the toys in the room? Or do you think the Warhammer models would just try to slaughter all the toys in the room? I guess it just depends on what he gets. If he gets Space Marines, absolutely. Every toy in Andy's room is fucking dead, okay? Our final story comes from our community, posted in the Discord in the Tales from the Mana Crypt section by Toragon. There was no official title for the story, but I thought I'd give one called The Wrath of Billy. In our Warhammer group of 9 people, we play in a small warehouse that is owned by one of us for his family business. One of my friends in the group has a coworker named Billy that noticed some Warhammer stuff on his desk and brought up to my friends that he plays too. My friend mentioned that we have a group that meets up in the warehouse and he's welcome to come. However, he was relocating his family from Arizona and they are staying in a hotel. We were excited that we get to play with a new player. When we met him, he brought his wife and he had a shirt that barely fit him, so his pot belly was showing, but he seemed cool at first. He told us that he plays Blood Angels, and we were ecstatic that he was showing us all of his models, some old, some new, and decently painted.
Hell yeah.
Our first red flag that we missed was that they hired a homeless man who is illiterate that they met at a hotel to watch their kids.
Ooh.
My mind has to process that because holy fucking shit, are these people like, what the fuck? That is the last thing any parent would ever want to do is find some random stranger that's drunk on the sidewalk and like, hey, I gotta go out for a bit. If I give you some $20 in McDonald's, will you watch them?
I can hear the sound of a phone alarm in the background. I don't know why, but my brain is
we were
like
dumbfounded that they
picking
hired
that up.
essentially a stranger to watch their kids. But we just met them, and those kids weren't ours.
Yeah.
When we played against him, we would get stomped hard by him because he would bring meta lists that he and his friends cooked up. Billy never played in tournaments, but would bring sweaty lists to our casual group where we were still starting out and only playing 2,000 point lists or of what we had at the time. To be fair to him, we weren't direct with him to go easy on us since we were still new to the game. I think there's no shame in that though. Like, if you gotta let like really experienced players know like, hey, I'm not very great at this and I just have these kind of lists, if you're willing to kind of just like, you know, turn it down a little with me just so I can have a chance to play, that would be great. And I think a lot of people most of the time would say, yeah, sure, I mean, I'm willing to give you some pointers and tips. But then again, I also understand that fear of sometimes talking with some Warhammer players. They're like, well, that's the game. That's how the game works. If you don't like it, don't play it. And it's just like, not necessary, bro.
Yeah.
Not necessary. Not to say that this is what this guy would be, but it's also that idea that if you're playing against somebody that's super competitive, that's sometimes just the mindset they're going to have. Another red flag shows up when we added him to our group chat so we could talk and schedule games for the next time we met up at the warehouse. Me and my friend that brought Billy to the group wanted to play an Onslaught game, a 3,000 point game, against each other because we finally got enough points for our armies to build and paint. Billy wanted to get a game in that week. The rest of the group either couldn't make it or wanted to paint at the warehouse. So the only game that was going to be played was ours, and we told Billy that we already had a game planned. Billy insisted to get in on our game and make it a 2v1 with us versus him or a free-for-all game.
Oh no.
We politely told him no, but he didn't get the message. He kept on insisting that he wanted to play because he came up with another sweaty list that he wanted to play really bad. See, this is also the case where when you're hearing stuff like that, it's where you just gotta let him know, like, hey man, I'm not a big fan of those kind of lists because they're really meta and competitive, and that's just not really the kind of group we've got here. We got dudes that are still painting their fucking gray models as we speak. I don't even think they've read their rules, you know? At that point, that's just where you kind of have to let it be known, like, hey, dude, we're not really into that.
Yeah.
My friend got fed up with him and said that he can take his spot in our game and that I would take the bullet for our group. Oh, what a dickhead. He ended up wrecking me with his new list, and I tried to be polite to him throughout our game, but I was also annoyed with him because I was looking forward to play the Onslaught game with my friend.
Yeah.
The final red flag was at the end of his tenure in our group is when he started to bring his 10-year-old daughter to the warehouse out of nowhere. He asked my friend who owned the warehouse if it was okay for her to be there. My friend tried to be nice to say no, by saying that he doesn't want her to get hurt because of all the loose knives and blades on the ground, and that he didn't want to be held responsible for her in case she got hurt. Billy said it would be fine and that he would keep an eye on her. My friend caved and said okay.
Oh no.
Like her father, at first she seemed fine, but then we quickly realized that we were dealing with a child. She would interrupt our games to talk about what's going on in our games, what she did at school, and what it was like at her house. It felt like to us we were the babysitters so that he can play Warhammer.
Yeah.
I also just don't see that being a very fun space for a child either,
Yeah,
man.
no,
Like,
no.
if it was a game store, I think there'd be a lot more enjoyment in it. But if you're just like in this like cold ass warehouse where there's just like metal everywhere and tables set up for Warhammer, that's like the most boringest place I could see a child going to. And of course, as always, it's gonna lead to the curiosity of a child and them exploring the area. So let's see what happens.
Oh, God,
He would even
no.
use his daughter to cheat for him. Billy was playing with my friend who owned the warehouse, and he had to roll a lot of dice. He called his daughter over and had his daughter re-roll all of the failed dice for no reason.
Bruh.
My friend wanted to say something, but didn't because he saw Billy's daughter's face light up when she got to interact with her dad's game. This happened 2 more times throughout their game, and he ended up losing. The final straw of Billy's daughter was when we were busy with our games. She was wandering around the building and
no.
found the mini fridge.
Oh God, no.
Like I told you, y'all, when a child gets bored in a gray old warehouse, they're gonna explore and wander. My friend who owned the warehouse
God, it's a
bought
wild
a
text.
buffalo chicken hoagie to eat later and put it in that mini fridge. After our game, we cleaned up after ourselves, and Billy left the warehouse before any of us, leaving us to put away the terrain, put the tables away, and sweep the floors. When we were done cleaning, we all headed home and leaving my friend to close up the building. When we got to our homes, we got the message from our friend in our regular group chat without Billy, asking if we had took his hoagie by accident. We each said no, and then went on to ask Billy if he or his daughter took it. Billy said no, and asked his daughter if she took it, and she also said no.
Bruh.
Hours later, my friend got another message from Billy saying that he caught his daughter eating the sandwich in her room, and Billy also said that next time he'll keep a watchful eye on her. We said, that's it.
Yeah.
And we started to ghost him from our group, and that was the last day of it.
Yeah.
This next
Yeah.
part happened in between when we ghosted Billy and when we first met him. So one day, we were hanging in the warehouse playing Warhammer, and another friend in my group is trying to get his nephew into Warhammer and met Billy. They really hit it off and were talking about smoking weed back at his place. The nephew brought his girlfriend to Billy's house to party and smoke weed. Billy had other plans. He first brought out video footage of an army drone that he took during his time in service and showed the nephew a video of 2 heat signatures doing the deed in
What
their
the
bedroom.
Fuck?
What just happened?
What
This story just
fuck?
turned 180 real fucking
the
quick. This just
fuck?
went from Warhammer to, yeah, he did some nasty shit too. It's like,
What the fuck?
oh my god. The second clip Billy showed him was a drone strike
Oh my
bombing a bunker
God.
with moments later a man on fire standing still for a second and collapsing on the spot to burn to death.
Jesus.
After showing the clips to the couple, they felt uncomfortable during the watch,
Oh my
and Billy
God.
had some psychotic glee on his face as he loaded up each video.
That's disgusting.
After he finished showing them the videos, Billy asked if they wanted to start what they originally planned to do. I should also mention that the nephew and his girlfriend are 20 and 19 years old, respectively, and Billy and his wife are in their 30s and 40s.
Bruh.
As hours pass of them getting inebriated, Billy suggested that they should swing
That's-
partners, and
oh my
his wife
God.
was in on it as well. No, just get out
Yeah,
of there.
no.
The minute
Get out of
people
there,
are giving
man.
you substances and then start telling you, you should do this for me. That's the
so
second where it's like,
gross.
no, dude, you're fucked.
That's
And honestly,
so
if I'm
bad,
sober enough,
dude.
I think I'm gonna kick your fucking ass too, or just leave. But for me, I'd probably kick ass. That creeped out both the nephew and his girlfriend, and they tried to politely decline and leave. Billy insisted again, but was declined again and let the
Yeah.
two leave.
Yeah.
Our Warhammer group didn't find out about any of this until after we ghosted away from the group. Minor things that bothered me about him are that every time he came to the warehouse, he always wore shirts that didn't fit him, and we'd always have to see his pot belly.
What the fuck?
Dude, that would be fucking funny to me, though. Just like every single... every single week you see this guy, he's got a red shirt, blue shirt, just different colors, but every time this disgusting gut is just sticking out, and you just it's like a center eyeball that you just always have to stare at, or it's always looking at you. There's some comedic relief in that, but also I definitely understand the disgust. I wouldn't want to have to stare at that all day. Another thing was that Billy posted a picture in a Warhammer group chat of models that he recently primed, and he said that he used a paint roller and primer.
A paint
My mouth
roller?
dropped and saw that all the models he primed lost a lot of their detail because, one, he used a fucking paint roller, and two, he used a lot of primer.
Dude.
The photo will be posted below as proof.
Oh my god. What the... This guy's just a menace. What the fuck?
Jesus Christ. Anyway, we asked why he would do that, and he said that it was quicker and cheaper than using a can of primer. My god, man, those... I gotta say, though, that the picture of those models are just ruined. Like, just looking at them right now, they're
I have to look at this. Oh my god, dude. I'm sure those look worse in person. From this distance, they do look kind of shitty, but there's a fucking paint roller right there. What the fuck? Oh my god.
Detail is so fucked. Like, you know those are gonna be mud soldiers. Like, you know the classic, really bad looking sort of paint jobs sometimes people do where they just look super thick, like they got layers of paint? This is exactly what this is gonna be. Well, thick layers, disgusting eyeballs, can't tell anything that's on him.
Dude.
0 out of 10! But I will also say that there's a responsibility that comes with this person of A, being sure that other people are comfortable being around them, and B, also being sure to not take advantage of the space that's given to them. Because I feel like in this case, he definitely took advantage of the space when, you know, you're making these people play games with you when they've made pre-set up games. So it doesn't sound like there was a lot of good communication with him either, and it was just kind of a bound case where this guy was gonna have to go. And plus, if it's a vibe where you can tell the person's not gonna be very fun to play with because A, their lists are too chunky, B, they're a really awkward or disgusting person, or C, you just don't like the family that they bring, then I think it's just an obvious sign of like, I don't think we need to bring this guy to the second or third or even fourth game. But I get it. You want to find new people to play with. You want to have a chance to actually see different armies work out, but it's always bound to the person that plays the army. Just remember that. But that is all the Warhammer tales I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more. And if you have a deep, dark tale that involves Warhammer or any sort of tabletop game you've played before, be sure to join our Discord where you can meet lots of amazing folks and have a chance to tell your story right here on the channel. But that's going to be it for now, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I can't wait to see y'all here next time, and I can't wait to make some more videos. But anyways, thank you so much, and have a great one.
What the fuck? Okay. Oh my god. Hang on. Okay, what the fuck? Okay, well that last one, I think, was worth the wait. Holy shit, dude. Oh my god, that was disgusting. What the fuck? Holy shit. Alright, guys. Well, on that note, I think I'm gonna get out of your hair. Oh my god. Wow. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. Alright. Okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Tomorrow, the plan is still to continue Alien Isolation. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I really don't want to, like, look up a guide for it, but I might have to, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. If you're over on YouTube, make sure to leave a like on your way out the door. It really helps out the channel. And if you're on Twitch, why not drop a follow? Also really helps out. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you all for hanging out and spending time with me. and I will catch y'all tomorrow at actually 7:30 this time, and not 9 o'clock. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one. Have good days, evenings, afternoons, nights, whatever type of day it is for you. And I'll catch you tomorrow night. Bye, guys. Bye.